has betrayed WCW.
What in the hell is he doing here? Monday Night Raw, Monday Nitro. He is broken.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Brett Screw Brett. The new world order, brother. Let's get this. We are at war.
Let's get going in the show.
Fair enough.
We'll circle around here, I'm sure, many times.
WCW Monday Nitro number 185.
God, the show's so bad. Am I the only one? I don't want to just get started right off the bat, but let me tell you about this show, everybody.
Yeah, go for it.
So they debuted their new stupid logo.
God, it sucks.
Worst.
It's like a fucking spaceship or something.
It's completely unreadable.
It's so stupid.
Like, it's supposed to say WCW. It doesn't.
No, it's a big, stupid
Jagged
logo.
thing over here, and a jagged thing over here, and a loopy-doo in the middle.
They've changed, like, the lighting or something. It just looks... You know what it looks like? It looks like it did when it was dying.
Well,
We have now entered my memories of when they were dying.
okay.
With this new logo, they brought the announcers down to ringside. It's Bobby and Tony for the whole show. They don't switch out the announcers. And they kind of get along the whole time, so even that sucked.
It actually looks like the two W's on either side of WCW are actually deflating, and it's dying slowly.
They may be.
I got my numbers wrong on that one. It's number Nitro 186, April 5th, 1999. Shame on me for not updating that correctly. That's a very important part of my job. So they showed some Sting hype footage of him standing in the rain in the crow makeup and walking through an abandoned warehouse.
Dude, it's midway through 98. And the Sting Crow
99.
is back. 99!
It's been 3 years. Sting Crow versus the NWO.
I don't have it in me to finish this show today. I may walk out in the middle.
A horrible WCW Star Trek logo we talked about already, which Tony, by the way, in the debut show, Tony made a live long and prosper joke about this. The lead announcer is not even hiding. The logo looks like something out of Star Trek.
The best thing about the logo is how the C dips down into the ramp, and you see these giant wrestlers tiptoeing around.
It's a safety hazard.
To make sure that they don't fall on their face. And it's the best thing about the show is watching to see when somebody's going to crash and burn.
The new logo creates an unsafe working environment. And Ric Flair, world champion and company president, says into the camera, we're going to get that changed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Tony right now.
Shivani or leader?
Both.
Yeah. Goldberg is storming through backstage carrying a lottery harper.
So stupid. I'll get into it in a
They
second.
got the new set and Tony Schiavone's doofy new haircut. And they're down at ringside. So Mean Gene brings Goldberg out for a promo. Goldberg comes out with a hopper.
He's got a tumbler.
Tumbler, yeah.
A tumbler.
A big gold cylinder under his arm.
Like for the Royal Rumble lottery.
Yes.
He's wearing, yeah, exactly. He's got the WCW vest on with the old logo, which Tony chastises him for. He's got a hat on backwards.
Let me explain what he
Very
says here.
un-Goldberg.
He goes, I've been screwed since the day that I lost the belt. Which is true, by the way. He says, I was left off the last pay-per-view, and if Flair has his way, I'm going to be left off this next one.
Actually screwed since the day he won the belt, but go ahead.
He says, I'm taking matters into my own hands. I'm starting the Goldberg lottery. So he explains to us that everybody in the back, their name is in his tumbler. Mm-hmm. And he's going to spin it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever he pulls out is contractually obligated to be his next victim.
Apparently.
I'm like, who okayed this?
That question
Flair's
came up
in
often.
charge.
Yeah.
You mentioned he's kept you off paper because he doesn't like you. This is so stupid. Then he goes, or no, Nash comes out. Mm-hmm. So he brought out a tumbler to choose a victim. Mm. He doesn't even choose a victim.
No.
Nash comes out.
The tumbler was never spun.
This fucking guy says, I've been doing this for 10 years. Which is astonishing if you've seen him work.
I think it's longer, actually, but go ahead.
He goes, in 10 years, people will not be talking about Goldberg. They will be talking about Kevin Nash because he ended Goldberg's streak. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, 20 years later, Goldberg was a giant main event WrestleMania star on WWE TV.
That is true.
And Kevin Nash beating Bill Goldberg was remembered as an example of one of the stupidest booking decisions of all time. So, hell of a promo here, Kevin Nash. He challenges Goldberg for Spring Stampede. I already hated this show.
And Goldberg, who does not celebrate Christmas, said that's like Merry Christmas. He went to the back. Arn Anderson and Ric Flair were watching this backstage, very upset. They've undercut Flair's authority, so Flair sent Arn to go get somebody so he could talk to him.
Now, before you go to the next segment, what is my Nitro pet peeve at the beginning of every show? Obviously, I have many of them.
The list is so long,
There's
Brian.
more than
At
one.
the beginning of every show.
That they don't play the intro right away?
At the beginning of every show.
The opening match.
Thank you, Craig.
Oh, yes.
They choose with 360 guys under contract.
Right.
They always open up with the shittiest match
Well,
imaginable.
I actually have an explanation for this.
Oh, really? What is that?
Well, it was Hardcore Hack versus Kendall Windham in a kendo stick match, and you see how easy kendo and Kendall go together.
This is not improving Brian's mood. Now, if I may.
This fucking bullshit match.
Okay.
Kendall Windham in a stick match against Hack.
Kendo.
I'd love to hear it, Vinny. Please defend this.
No. I was merely going to say, before we get to that, Ricky Ratman came out.
Oh, this guy.
He plugged the WCW hotline. He forgot the Canadian number. Then somebody held it up in the cue card. He rattled it off real fast and said, "Forgive me, I'm the new guy." He's been there for several months. He's on TV 10 minutes a week. So yes, Kendall Windham versus Hack in a kendo stick match. What is a kendo stick match, you ask? As Tony Schiavone explained, they would have kendo sticks, and beyond that, I have no idea what the rules are. That's a quote.
Well, the rules are you can hit a guy with a stick, and to first off, it's Kendall Windham and Hack. You're already fighting an uphill battle. This got a boring chant.
It did.
A match with two men hitting each other with sticks got a boring
In the
chant.
opener.
What does that tell you?
It was boring.
Chastity steals the sticks. So now that there are no sticks, guess what happens?
A wrestling match breaks out.
Becomes a wrestling match.
Yeah.
Hack DDTs him. He goes, "Chastity, give me a stick." Even though there's one in the ring right next to him.
Mm-hmm.
He gets another stick. He does the white Russian leg sweep for the pin. This sucked.
Do we mention in there where Hack had a clothesline with his right hand, and Tony says there's a left-handed lariat? Shows off the rails, and we are one match in. Meng hype video, mostly himself attacking his own partners with strange audio and video effects. Goldberg goes into Flair's office.
Dude, he walks in, and Luger and Liz are just sitting there.
They are.
And he goes, "What the hell is this?"
It's got a good question, actually.
I'm like, it's Luger and Liz sitting in Flair's office. What's the problem here? Then they cut away.
And it was never spoken of again.
Flair and Arn denied having sent for him, and no one ever talked about it again. I don't know. Now it gets worse. They go to commercial, and when they come back, Arn Anderson finds Kevin Nash in the kitchen. Not like catering.
No, it was the kitchen.
There was a kitchen there, and Kevin Nash is in the kitchen.
Okay, I'm going to jump forward here a little bit just because I need to go backwards to explain how much this show sucks. Arn says, "Kevin, the champ needs to see you right now." Nash goes, "What's going on? Does it have to be right now?" Arn says, "Yes, he's just in a fury right now. He needs to see you right now." Nash says, "All right, hold on." Now, they go through like 5 segments, and then eventually Flair meets with Arn. He goes, "Where is he?" He's not in a fury. In fact, he's making a joke of it. "Where is the big guy? Where's he at?" Arn goes, "He's right behind me." Kevin shows up. That's it.
That's what happened.
Why did he need to see him?
I don't know.
Why did we waste 5 segments on this?
I don't know.
Why is everything a waste of my time?
I don't know. So yes, after 3 years now of NWO versus WCW feuding, Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, and Kevin Nash on this show were just all buddy-buddy. They're just chums out of nowhere. So yeah, in this segment here for now, Arn says, "Flair wants to see you," and Nash says, "Okay, I'll be there," and that was it. A Conan Disco Inferno hype video because this is the go-home show for Spring Stampede. Conan versus Lizmark Jr. As I wrote here, this match was complete ass.
Hey, listen. When I heard it was Conan and Lizmark Jr., I thought it would be, at the very best, total ass. But it actually was okay. Because Lizmark is absolutely terrible. He's the worst luchador they've got.
Yes.
Conan always gets blown up immediately.
Yes,
I thought there's
also true.
zero hope for this match. And it actually was okay.
Okay. Conan won with a tequila sunrise.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to say.
It was all right. It was like the best Lizmark match I've ever seen, I think. There was nothing for him to screw up. It was very, very nothing happened in simple match.
As I wrote here, Arn told Flair that Nash was coming. Nash arrived and shook hands with Flair. That was the entire segment.
Yeah.
We had a Scott Steiner hype video. And then, again, Nash and Flair are best friends. They're talking about partying in Vegas. They're talking about hockey. You've never seen such close confidants. Hogan, in his plaid flannel, sees this. He's all flustered while you're talking to him, brother. And Nash assures him it's all business.
Which Hogan was apparently fine with.
Well, he's skeptical, but
He goes, if it's business, it better be business.
yeah. So they go to commercial and come back. Now Nash is talking to Charles Robinson. Hogan doesn't like that.
Yeah,
Hogan-
Nash goes, he's asking him about little Nate. Like, I guess he has Flair plates. He has plates that say woo or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're the biggest Flair mark there is. And little Nate excuses himself. It's like, is there a point to this?
So Hogan and Nash, they talk about what happened to the finger poke and who would win, and they determine they're on the same team, I guess. Gene brings up Flair for a promo. Flair, as noted, talked into the camera about how he's going to get that ramp fixed. He congratulates... But this, okay, I'll cut to the chase. This was the 20-minute promo at the start of Raw to set up the main event, only it was an hour into the show.
And it went on forever.
Yes.
The gist of it is, Flair says, I'm taking away this Hogan-Flair match from Spring Stampede. I'm doing it tonight.
Stop right there. Did any of you guys know Hogan and
Hell
Flair was
no.
going to be the main event for Spring
Hell
Stampede?
no, are you
Okay.
kidding me?
Just making sure I wasn't blind. All right.
All right, so then Hogan hits the ring. He wants it to be a three-way. DDP hits the ring. Or no, DDP wants it to be a three-way. Goldberg comes out. He wants it to be a four-way. This takes hours. Flair doesn't want anything except a one-on-one match. Flair explains to DDP and Goldberg, I'm the boss. It's me and Hogan. You two shut up. And then there's like a shove by Goldberg, and then Flair accepts the four-way. Am I missing anything?
No.
No, because this show sucks.
His temper got the best of him, Ryan.
No, it didn't.
He was so eager for revenge on Goldberg for shoving him down. He was going to put his title on the line and face two of the dudes.
You need to write this show if you think this makes sense.
Oh, there's more, by the way. Because the promo ends, there's music playing, they're all walking away. But then Hogan meets Goldberg in the aisle, and they make a deal to get rid of Flair and DDP and settle things with each other. Which went nowhere, by the way. Of
course not.
So then they leave, and in every wrestling show since the dawn of time, this would be the point where you go to a commercial. Scott Steiner comes out. The announcers are perplexed. Why is there no commercial here? It's a double match segment, Tony says. So Steiner comes out, cuts a promo on DDP. Something about how Paige should have
He says
challenged
he's
him
a liar.
in the U.S. title tournament.
He says, I said that when I face DDP, Kimberly's going to be on the line for 30 days. So he admits he made up the stipulation. But he says he didn't disagree with it in the week before the match. Therefore, it's official.
It would have stood up in court, he said.
Yeah. So he says, listen, I got so many hot babes. I can't spare 30 days for Kimberly.
Yes.
But if DDP wants a chance at revenge against me, he's got to put Kimberly up for one night.
It was actually a great line.
Yes.
It was also a great line when he called himself a physical phenomenon.
Thank God you tried to say it, because I tried to say it 50 times in preparation
Yes,
for the show, and I
exactly.
could not fuck it up like he did.
It's amazing.
A phenomenon.
Phenomenon. Scott Steiner versus Meng in a U.S. title tournament semifinal
This was fun.
Man came out to the Dungeon of Doom music.
with his hair braided.
Yeah.
That's new. Two big, scary mofos went right at each other.
Yeah, but I was expecting more. Meng just like sold the entire match.
Kinda.
He does the yasaha for the Tongan death grip. And then Steiner just kicks him right in the balls in front of the ref.
Yeah.
Cradles him with his feet on the ropes in front of the ref. Ref counts the pin.
Well, no, he hit a low. He raked his eyes, hit the low blow. Then he grabbed Meng and did a straight overhead belly to belly suplex. And Meng fell on his head. I think he may have been legit knocked batty.
Terrifying.
The point is, this was bullshit officiating.
Well, I think Meng was out.
It's very possible.
Now, what about the low blow? The eye rake right in front of the ref.
Oh, that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part was. But I think the end result was Meng was knocked batty in the ropes. And so Scott said, I'm just going to pin him and end this.
Nobody can hurt Meng.
This is not the worst officiating on the show. There was a lot of very bad officiating on the show.
Besides, it was a counter to his finish. I'm sure that was the idea for the finish.
Yeah. The spotlights found a guy in the rafters. It wasn't Sting. It was just a guy. That was it. This show happened, everyone.
It was a lighting guy.
We're not making this up.
So dumb.
A lighting guy who just happened to be up there in Sting's trench coat.
Yeah, because
That's what you wear when you're in the lighting rig.
it's not warm up there or anything.
No.
Why wouldn't you wear a trench coat?
It's not like you need, freedom to move when you're adjusting things. Rigging, yeah.
Yeah.
Not like you don't want loose fabric hanging everywhere. Flair is backstage on the phone, inviting somebody to bring 4 or 5 friends to come party with him. He told the cameraman to leave. Why did this show happen?
Flair is
I'm getting more and more angry.
Flair is the world champion, but he could not possibly care less about all of this.
Oh,
Like, you were on the phone for 20 minutes, you didn't notice a guy kneeling, like, right underneath
He's at your feet.
filming up with a camera.
It's not just that. He was like, hey, buddy, get out of here. And then he goes back to talking on the phone. And then he looks down at the cameraman again and says, hey, I'm serious. Goes back to talking. This happened 3 times. Why didn't you just fire him?
Well, he
Why didn't
finally
he-
threatened to, and then the guy shut off the camera.
Why didn't he just push the cameraman down? It's his company.
Because the
For
show
now.
sucks.
they, excuse me. They plugged the internet talk show hosted by Bob Ryder and Jeremy Borish,
Yeah.
which I left.
WCW.com.
That's right.
It's a great wrestling name, by the way. Borish.
Borish. They recapped Jim Duggan's cancer announcement from last summer and his return on Thunder, and that's all well and good. I'm happy Jim Duggan is healthy.
Absolutely.
But I don't need to see Jim Duggan versus Lenny Lane on Nitro
Ever.
for like 5 minutes. In peak health, he still would have been a decade past his prime.
But the thing was, like, he just beat kidney cancer. Let the guy come back on Nitro, squash this guy in 30 seconds.
Yes.
Say,
Yeah.
Do his ho or whatever and
USA.
throw his thing in the air and all that other shit.
Yep.
Instead, he just beat on this guy and beat on him and beat on him.
He did a chin lock.
He's getting the heat as the baby face.
Yes.
And then at one point, he has a cover and he pulled him up at 2.
He sure did.
Not yet. I'm like,
Babyface.
not yet. And then he hits the old glory knee drop for the pin. God bless Jim Duggan. It sucked.
Ricky Ratman came back out. He said he was the new guy again, and he plugged the hotline again. Had a video of Hogan and Nash meeting with the Black and White, and Hogan asked to speak to them alone. And they asked why. They finally all got together and got their heads together. It's been like months. And they say, why did you tell each of us that he was the man in charge of the Black and White? And Hogan, he admitted he dropped the ball. In his mind, you see, one of them would have picked up the gauntlet and risen to the top and been a worthy leader. Where he erred is that all 4 of them are qualified. That was the flaw in his plan.
What a fucking politician.
So he says to settle this.
Told them all what they wanted to hear. Says there's going to be a last man standing battle royal. The winner is the leader. I was like, no.
Please don't do this.
You're going to do a battle royal with these 4 geeks
Let me...
on this 3-hour show that you know is going to go 5 times too long.
I deemed this the original Geek Battle Royal.
The 4 men in this battle royal were Vincent, Horace, Brian Adams, and Stevie Ray.
Who was wearing pinstripes, by the way?
Before we talk about what happened during the show, I just want to say, in hindsight, is 1999 not just the banner year for complete, utter dog shit matches?
Well, it has been so far.
It's the first week of April, and this is at least the second time I've had to go look up what the worst match of the year was and gone, oh yeah, there's that. Kennel from Hell was the worst match of the year. But there's already been, at least there was, I forget the other one, it was a horrible lucha tag match, I think. Or it was a tag match on Nitro. There was this one. Heroes of Wrestling is also this year.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Just
That was the worst match I've ever seen. But I mean, this was the very definition of Geek Battle Royal. It was death TV.
It was absolutely, like, in a best case scenario, on paper, this would be terrible. And if they did this Battle Royal 10 more times, I bet they could do better. At least 7 or 8.
I'm not sure about that.
Listen.
Skeptical.
Why do you have this faith?
Do you know why shitty wrestlers always do clubbering forearms?
Because they suck at everything else.
Because they're easy to do and you can't fuck it up. Or can you? Such awful brawling in this match. Just the worst choking, the worst forearms, the worst eye rakes. I'm just watching this mouth agape, alternating between tears and laughter. Seriously, I started laughing and then I cry a little bit.
Sounds like my day.
How did none of these men get fired for this match? It just goes on.
This fucking place ain't firing anybody.
It just goes on and on. There's long segments where all 4 dudes are just standing there. No one's doing shit. This goes on and on.
Hey, let's talk about the psychology.
There is.
They toss Vincent because he's the first idiot. He's the biggest geek.
Oh, okay.
He's thrown out. Then Horace and Adams team up on Stevie.
They sure did.
Stevie makes a one-man comeback on both of them. Can
His comeback. Like, the match bottomed out during Stevie's comeback. It had never been any good. It had never been up to the level of being terrible. And then when Stevie made his comeback, it sunk significantly worse. This is bottom of the sea wrestling. This is down in the dark depths of the ocean where the light doesn't reach. And there's only, like, dead fish cells floating around. And scavengers. That's the level of wrestling here in this Battle Royal in Nitro. I don't know why Stevie threw this jumping sidekick like he did. I don't know why Stevie...
sucks.
I don't know why he was hitting the ropes like he did. Motherfucker.
Horace and Adams then turn on each other?
For no reason.
Well,
They're winning on him. Their plan is going great, and they just start to fight.
Stevie tosses Adams. Horace charges. Stevie backdrops him to win. Stevie Ray is the leader of the NWO.
And as Lance pointed out, imagine these stakes. Stevie Ray, through this victory, his charges now include Horace, Vincent, and Crush.
Yeah.
What a clan.
Hey, at least he's not under one of them.
Hold on. Let me just get this out of the way. Vinny, that's going to be on the best of 2018, and I just want to do this right now.
So,
Get out of here.
So I did not need to go for a walk after this, but I did need a break. I shut Nitro off. I ate my lunch. I played games for a while. I answered some emails. I just could not take any more of Nitro after that
That's fair.
bullshit. So I get back on the show. There's a long way to go, by the way. We're like half over. Raven and Saturn versus Rey Mysterio Jr. and Kidman.
This was better.
It sure was. That's not to say it was any good. So last week, Raven interfered to help Kidman and Ray win the tag titles, and this week they get a title shot, I guess, as a way of saying thank you. So 30 seconds into the match, Raven and Saturn hit a Doomsday Device body press on Ray. They just squish him. And the announcers are screaming to make a cover, and they don't. And in fact, Kidman gets a hot tag 2 minutes later. He hits a pedigree in his comeback. Then a 4-way breaks out. I'm thinking, okay, they'll go to the finish in 3 minutes. No, it's time for a commercial break.
Yeah, great time for a commercial.
And then coming back, it seemed like we didn't miss anything.
But you know what? By the time this was over, Raven tried to powerbomb Kidman. You know how that ends. Mm-hmm. Ray got his hot tag, tries a Bronco Buster on Raven. Raven lifts his leg up, and Ray just Bronco busts his foot. Right, the balls falls down. Ray hits a diving Hurricane Run on Raven. Goes for the springboard. Saturn hits a DVD. The ref had been bumped, so there's no one to count the pin. And so Benoit and Malenko at the ring. Lay out Saturn. Ray makes the cover. Ref wakes up, counts the pin. This totally played into the storyline from last week. It was the best match on the show. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it was the best thing on the show. So do not complain about this match.
Yes, I'm not arguing with you, but the best match on the show, I guess it was a pinfall, but there's blatant interference. And that was.
Yeah, we had 9 million ref bumps on this show by the end. Sick of it.
Also, was Benoit wearing one of Kevin Nash's shirts? This is the poofiest shirt I ever saw.
He had a nice white button-up shirt, dressing like a star.
It reminded me of the Jerry Seinfeld. I don't want to be a pirate.
It's huge. I'm surprised a strong wind didn't pick him up and carry him out. Booker T versus Chris Jericho. Here's where Tony got a Star Trek joke in. Mm-hmm. So they had a fun match for 3 minutes. Steiner runs in with a chair. Booker kicks it into his face. Backdrops Jericho out of the ring, and then Booker is named the winner via DQ.
What a waste of time.
So this sets up Booker versus Steiner in the U.S. Tournament Finals at Spring Stampede. One thing I will say,
What a bullshit finish.
Oh, it totally is.
Even Bobby's like, what the hell was that?
He tried to interfere, but he didn't. It failed. Booker was never in any danger here. I'm not sure exactly when Jericho's last match is, but I clearly got 1 foot and 4 toes out the door.
Yes,
he's still trying. He's still doing what he can out there. Buff Bagwell versus Bam Bam Bigelow. So Buff has been a heel for several years now. He's just done his babyface turn, and he's still working out the kinks of how to be a babyface while being Buff and not Marcus. So he's still very cocky and arrogant and does a lot of dancing. But he makes his big comeback and the crowd gets into it. And then the ref, in fact, did get bumped again.
Yeah. So we need is another ref bump.
Hack runs out and attacks both dudes. Chastity sprays a fire extinguisher in Bigelow's face, and it just gets everywhere. So Bagwell climbs up to the top, but he can't fucking see.
No.
So he climbs back down and waits for the air to clear. He pretends to be choking or whatever, and he goes up and he hits the blockbuster and wins.
And it was awesome because this ref had no clue, even though there was a thick cloud of fire extinguisher
Like, I'm not exaggerating.
in the air.
And it was not safe for Buff Bagwell to be on the top rope because he couldn't see anything.
As the ref's counting 3, there is poofs of fire extinguisher excrement flying up. It was unbelievable.
Do fire extinguishers have excrement?
I don't know.
It was weird. It was a weird color. Ref's counting the pin as he's surrounded by noxious fumes.
Yes.
I'm like, dude, maybe the building's on fire, you fucking idiot. You're counting the pin? I'm done with this show. I've mentally checked out.
Ric Flair versus Hollywood Hogan versus Dallas Page.
Okay, I'm back.
Goldberg.
Because I got to talk about Buffer.
That took a while.
His ring introductions were preposterous.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't write down all of them, but I wrote down a few. For Ric Flair's coming into the ring, and Michael Buffer says, he has shown the world that he is the man to beat the man to be the man.
Okay.
What?
That's like doing long
He
division.
has shown the world that he is the man to beat the man to be the man.
Right.
Then he claimed he was the president and CEO of WCW.
That's incorrect.
He claimed that the biggest star in all of World Championship Wrestling, Bill Goldberg, was a cult favorite.
Sure. I checked out during Buffer's. This is all news to me. I paid zero attention to what Buffer
A
said.
fucking cult favorite.
Yeah.
And he listed his 2 big moves. The power spear and, I quote, the inverted lift and body slam and pin.
He didn't say that.
Yes, he did. I rewound it 3 times. The inverted lift and body slam and pin.
Is there another Goldberg I'm not familiar with? Inverted lift and body. All right.
The fucking cult favorite, Bill Goldberg. He's an underground star.
Sure.
Not to the mainstream.
I don't know how he got into
Just
Hall
to
of
the
Fame.
real hardcores.
So, the story of this match was basically they would pair off and there'd be 2 guys brawling on the floor and 2 guys in the ring doing stuff. Hogan did this whole Hulkamania of Hulk up, 3 punches, big boot, leg drop, 30 seconds in. But they broke up the pin. And then Page did a diamond cutter on Flair, but they broke up that pin. Hogan got a near fall on Goldberg with the axe bomber, always a treat. Mm-hmm. And then Hogan and Goldberg, first they start trying to trade small packages like Malenko and Guerrero.
No. No, it was not.
No. And then Goldberg tries to lock Hogan in a side choke. I'm not sure the appropriate MMA fighter to compare him to, but I don't think Hogan even knew it was a submission hold. He's just there. So everyone brawls. The crowd demands Sting.
Can I just jump in and note that, like, some guy keeps texting me to the Observer Live text number? He's, like, lost somewhere trying to get a hotel room.
What?
Yeah. I'm
Like
alerting him right now that he's got the wrong number here.
Like, is he looking for, like, New Orleans or?
I don't know what he's looking for. I'll follow this
He
story.
was posted.
Yeah.
So Goldberg jackhammers Page. Hogan breaks up the pin. So, okay, here's the finish, everyone.
Hold on. First off, well, we'll get to the finish in a second. Go for it. So stupid.
Okay, Goldberg has hit his finish once, but a guy broke up the pin. Okay, fine. He spears everyone. Everyone's dead. He goes to cover Hogan. Hogan kicks out of the spear. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever kicked out of a spear, but I don't think Goldberg's ever actually pinned anyone with it either. So, okay, whatever. Then Goldberg hits the jackhammer, hoists him up, clean as a sheet, slams him down in the ring, no question. He's got this man beat. Kevin Nash had been doing commentary. And the idea was Goldberg would hit this jackhammer, and Nash would break up the pin for the DQ.
That was the plan.
Well, son of a bitch, who'd have thunk it? What are the odds? Kevin Nash was late breaking up the pin. So Hogan, shucks, he had no choice. He had to kick out of the jackhammer. It's not his fault. It's just an accident.
You cannot convince me that this was an accident.
No, I'm not trying
This
to.
was such a load of bullshit. Remember that Goldberg documentary was talking about it every single day? I'm fucking pissed off.
Yes. You've never had fun at work before?
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Jesus. Can you imagine? But you know what? I got to say, this is not going to be a popular opinion. Hopefully Bill Goldberg doesn't hear this.
Ooh.
This is your fucking fault, dude. Like, when they come up to you with the idea that you're going to hit your finisher on Hogan, but don't worry, Nash is going to hit the ring and break up the pin.
Yeah.
That's right when you say, fuck off, dude. That ain't happening. Right?
You
Makes
use
sense.
a little
You
too trusting.
know what's going to happen here.
Yeah. By the way, even if this had been executed correctly, this would have made zero sense because Goldberg is wrestling Nash at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Nash on commentary is openly cheering for Bill so that he could get a title match on Sunday. Then he goes in and costs Bill the match. Or tries to. So it is a DQ. At this point, Sting descends from the ceiling. He's got his bat. Flair and Hogan and Nash run for their lives. Sting points to the sign. I kid you not. Mm-hmm. It took him a few tries. He finally pointed to the correct video screen where a video aired announcing here in the go-home segment for Spring Stampede, the main event for Spring Stampede, which is Flair defending his title versus Page, Hogan, and Sting in a four-way in 6 days. This video is narrated by Randy Savage, who also announces that he will be the referee. What the hell is happening?
Well, you know what's happening is they just had a four-way with no finish.
Right.
And then they announced the pay-per-view, if you pay $40, is a four-way. But they claim there will be a winner.
They did
I'm like,
say
how
that.
the fuck can you guarantee that? I didn't see a winner here tonight.
I don't know. So Flair is Flair is the president, but he didn't book this match. I guess Sting and Savage did, and then went to the production truck, had them cue up a video and produce a video. This makes no sense. This was a very, very bad show.
It was a very bad show, but as we'll get to in a moment, it's not like Raw logically was any better. In fact, Raw may have been stupider. I don't even know if that's possible.
Raw was sillier, that's for sure.
All right, let's do your music. What should I use?
The finishes on this show were pinfall in a kendo stick match, clean submission, pin with both guys' legs in the ropes, clean pin, clean battle royal win, pin after interference, DQ due to interference, pin after interference with a fire extinguisher, and a DQ due to interference in a four-way.
That's it.
I like that one. That sounds like Foster the People.
Don't I usually use that one?
Yeah. Right, Rob? Yeah, okay.
Hey, congrats to Rob. He won the weight loss contest.
Woo!
It's ridiculous.
Not in this room or anything.
He started much fatter than everybody else, so I mean, it was an easy win. Actually, it wasn't an easy win because he still won. But yeah,
What? Nitro number 187, April 12th, 1999. So this is the first day after Spring Stampede, which was in Tacoma, Washington.
yeah. And then they went to Yakima.
They went to fucking Yakima.
Fuck.
I don't know how many cities in Washington State are bigger than Yakima, but it's a lot. So
Well, there's a lot of places that go. Like, WWE goes to Yakima to this day.
do they do show.
Yeah,
TV
like
shows from there?
they do like a SmackDown. I think they've done there.
Did they? All right. Well, I only bring it up because at some point the announcers begin to bury Yakima as if it represents the entire state.
Well, I liked when first Tony's burying the state, and he goes, "It's called the Evergreen State. It was just raining all the time." I was like, "Well, yeah, you came to Seattle.
When you water plants, they are green. Yes."
And then he goes, "And now we come to Yakima. I haven't seen any trees." Which is true because there's a giant mountain range in the middle of Washington.
Yakima is in the desert.
We have 2 climates.
Yeah.
Like people don't know
More.
that, but you can leave beautiful Bothell, Washington, and head 2.5 hours. You go over that damn mountain, and you're literally in like the desert.
Yes.
It's weird.
It's all kinds of things.
See what the weather's like right now, because I may go over there tomorrow at this rate. Done with this. 52 degrees right now. I guess that's about like it is here.
It wasn't bad.
Disregard all that.
So anyway, at Spring Stampede, DDP won the world title in the 4-way. And so this show opens. Randy Savage was the special ref, and as we would later see, he would openly attack Ric Flair during that match and help Paige win. Sounds like a very terrible ref.
Yeah.
So Randy Savage and Gorgeous George congratulate Paige on being world champion, says, "You owe us a favor." And he says, "Whatever." And then Scott Steiner wipes out Paige from behind, gets a bleep for something, throws food on him, and leaves.
It was kind of funny. It was kind of a funny brawl. Kind of beat on him a little bit and was just being all crazy.
Yeah.
It's hard to take too seriously.
He's putting food on him.
A little wacky, yeah.
If they have showers in Yakima, he'll be okay. So Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan recap what just happened like we hadn't seen it at all with our own eyes, and then conveniently announce Paige versus Steiner for the world title tonight. And they recap Steiner throwing Kimberly out of a car a few months ago.
Yeah.
Sting comes out for a promo.
Talking.
So he's black and white Sting, as he notes, back in black, and he quotes AC/DC for a while. So he's Crow Sting all the way, but his cadence and his speaking tone is a very much classic Surfer Sting. He's all happy and giddy and full of vim and vigor. He says he takes credit for building WCW, and it's him, not Dallas Page, who built this place. And he calls Paige out for tonight.
Wants a match tonight for the title.
Yeah. We had pics of Ray Jr. beating Kidman for the Cruiserweight title at Spring Stampede. Actually, I want to go back to the Sting thing for a minute. He's been Crow Sting now for, 2 years? And I know he did some promos when he was champion, and he did a little talking when he was with the
Well, wait a second.
Wolfpack.
So Starrcade was...
Starrcade 97.
97.
Yeah.
And so he was Crow Sting. I mean, when did that all start? I think it was 96.
Fall of 96.
Yeah,
so
so
2.5
been
years.
3 years.
Yeah. So it's not that he's been silent for that entire time, but it was weird to just see him come out and just blabber. Just run his mouth.
Made a little blabbering after the Starrcade show.
He's done some talking since, but
yeah.
not like this. We have pics of Ray Jr. beating Kidman for the Cruiserweight title at the Spring Stampede. And then Juventud Guerrera versus Rey Mysterio Jr. for the Cruiserweight title. Ray and Kidman are also still the tag team champs. There's great heat on the show. As much as they buried Yakima, they should have stayed there. And here's where they started making fun of the rain and the trees and everything. And you just hear Tony's voice. He cannot wait to get an airplane and go back to the South. Or Texas, wherever he's from. Had a basic, fun match.
Texas?
Where's Tony from? I don't know.
Carolinas?
Probably more, yeah. Anyway, they were having a fun match, and then Ray hit a top rope Rana and outran Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko and attacked him for the DQ.
What the fuck is wrong with these two guys? Like, they've been a tag team, which sounds like a dream tag team. They've had nothing but boring matches.
There's one exception, yes.
They ran into Raven and Saturn, and somehow they got a good match out of Benoit and Malenko.
Yes.
Think about that. So they run in here, and like two green jobbers, they fucking grab Ray, and I don't know what they were thinking, but they tossed him like 10 feet in the air. He landed awkwardly. He crashed and burned and smashed the back of his head on the mat.
Yeah.
I was like, what were you guys thinking? You almost killed Rey Mysterio.
It looked like, and I think there was one on Raw too. One party involved thought it was a backdrop, and the other thought it was a flapjack.
Dude.
So they just threw him up in the air, and then no one had any control over what was happening next.
It looked like he was dead afterwards. He just kind of laid there, and they dragged him away, and then Raven and Saturn made the save.
Raven and Saturn ran out, and that was that.
But hey, it was a good wrestling match.
While it lasted, it was a good wrestling match.
Fans were into it.
That is definitely true. Jimmy Hart and Hugh Morris are preparing for a match with Bam Bam Bigelow. When Hack walks up, he says, "I can show you how to beat Bam Bam." And he hits Hugh in the head with a stick. And Hugh responds by no-selling this and beating up some random flunky with a stick instead. So it looks to me like Hack's plan failed.
Yeah.
I would not listen to him. Hack just shrugged and walked away. A Scott Steiner hype video. The announcers then talked about Bret Hart and drank some Surge. The most 90s thing of all time.
They've got a new sponsor, Surge.
Mm-hmm.
And like everyone's out there drinking from Surge bottles. I'm skeptical it's actually Surge in the bottle
Or at least
based
not-
on this show.
Maybe not straight Surge.
Yeah, it
Maybe
might be
spiked.
Surge and cognac.
Yeah. So we had a montage of Bret Hart promos ending with him quitting a few weeks back.
I think I mentioned this in one of the other shows, but we went to Wale Mania. And Dave and I are back there with 9 billion other people, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
And Wale wants everyone to take a shot. I'm like, I don't want to take a shot. You're going to take a shot. And he goes and he gets this big thing of cognac. He starts pouring shots. I'm like, I don't want to take a shot. You're taking a shot.
How could you not want to do a shot with Wale?
Well, you know, I did not want to that much, but I was just like, can we avoid the shot? Like, have a good time without the shot? So he starts handing all these shots out, hands a shot to Dave Meltzer.
Mm-hmm.
I've known Dave since 1998. He's never taken a drink. So, like, he really doesn't want to take a shot. So he's got his shot glass in his hand, and I'm like, Dave, no, I'm signaling, just pour it out. Like, there's a million people back here. Just, pour it out and then fake, a worked shot.
Exactly.
While he has everyone raise their glasses, everyone starts pounding it down, and Dave goes, pounded that fucking thing. I almost gagged.
Yeah.
Dave just shot it down like a seasoned pro.
Dave's a man.
Yeah. And then afterwards he goes, I can't take another shot.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah.
We had pics of Bam Bam Bigelow beating Hack in a hardcore match at Spring Stampede. So the last picture they show, Bam Bam is in the ring and his fists are in the air. He's won the match. And there's a fan in the crowd who is holding his child aloft in front of Bam Bam. So there's no way to not get the kid in the shot unless they were, they could have gone back 1 second on the film, I'm sure, and found one. But point is, there's a kid in the shot, and as Tony's running down this hardcore match, he explains, quote, Bigelow survived this thing. The young kid did not. What?
I need to know more about this.
A child died at your show, and you're just now bringing that up? So this led to Hugh Morris versus Bam Bam Bigelow in a kendo stick match.
Sometimes I'm writing these reviews, and I think to myself, I watch like 3 minutes of it, and I'm like, this match sucks. I write a review.
That's the review, and
I'm like, this match sucked. Just a bullshit hardcore match. And then I keep watching it, and at the end I have to rewrite what I wrote. This was not a bad match. It was sloppy.
Yes.
But it was two big dudes who just decided, we're just going to break a bunch of shit and do a bunch of flips.
Yeah.
Crash and burn for your entertainment. And by the end, I was, in fact, very entertained by this match.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Hugh missed a moonsault and went through a table. Or actually,
They started by missing moonsaults.
well, they missed a bunch of moves. The best one was, there's a table.
I follow you, yeah.
And they put Bigelow on the table. And Hugh is going to do a moonsault through Bigelow and the table.
Sure.
But as he's going for it, Bigelow gets off the table. But he's fat. And so Hugh misses and goes through the table, but manages to still hit Bigelow on the way down with his feet.
Yes.
And so Bigelow goes flying.
Yes.
So he's landing in this giant pile of wood. And then Bigelow goes up top and he does a diving headbutt onto Hugh Morris, who is in the wood,
Yeah.
gets the pin. I like this match.
This was fun by the end.
Yeah.
They had a story.
They turned me.
They are two very, very large men who were surprisingly agile for their size, and they both wanted to one-up each other.
Yeah.
So Bam Bam, the first thing he did, he grabbed Hugh, body slammed it, and missed a moonsault. And he was like, oh yeah? Watch this fucker. And he slammed Bam Bam, and he went up top, and he missed a moonsault. And they kept on going, and they hit each other with things, and Jimmy Hart was out there. The announcers are done. They were 2 matches in a Nitro. They've had enough. Tony says it is a chore to watch these men climb the ropes. That's the word he used, chore. We do not want to watch wrestling. We want to watch weapon shots instead. And finally, we got the finish as you described. So Bam Bam wins. Jimmy Hart immediately hits the ring and begins to hit him with a stick. And Bam Bam goes after him, but Jimmy is in fact too fast for Bam Bam Bigelow. And the announcers...
He got away.
The announcers continue to treat all of this like a total joke. It was completely beneath them, but the guys worked very hard, and the crowd loved it. Kidman arrived at the building. Ray is very disappointed that Kidman was not there to watch us back, and Kidman says, I'm sorry, but they've got me doing all these autograph signings.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, not Rey Mysterio.
No.
Who holds 2 titles.
Billy Kidman.
Billy Kidman's out there signing autographs.
For the fine people of Yakima.
And the other part is, let's just say this is true. WCW sent this guy out to do autograph signings, and he just got to the building.
Mm-hmm.
Ray is like such a crybaby. Like, where were you? Kidman's like, I was sent somewhere else, but you didn't have my back. No shit. I was somewhere else. I didn't know you were going to be jumped. Ray would not let this go.
They acted very badly and juvenile. Eventually they reconciled. It felt like something out of like Saved by the Bell. It picks of the 4-way championship match from Spring Stampede.
That's funny. It's Saved by the Bell. That's like a combat sports term.
Yes.
That they used for a show about kids in school. Because the bell rang, and I guess you were saved by the bell.
You figured it out. You cracked the code.
But I'm just bringing up that you said, this is like Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. This is more Saved by the Bell than Saved by the Bell, because it's pro wrestling.
You're right, Brian.
Thank you.
You're always right.
Thank you. I'm not always right, but like 99% of the time.
So Hogan leaves the 4-way with a knee injury. They say he's already on his Learjet to see Dr. Andrews in Birmingham. And then special referee Randy Savage turned on Flair and helped Page win. And then suddenly, Dallas Page is in the ring cutting a promo.
That was bizarre.
Now, I don't know what happened. And the Nitro or the shows they put up on 24/7 were edited differently than those that were edited for the network. But maybe because his music is so much like Nirvana, they just edited off this show.
Well, they've done that many times, but I mean, maybe they actually showed. That doesn't make sense. Here's what I know. So, at some point on the show, there's a reference to Bret Hart being on like later or some wacky show. Yeah. On the actual show, they showed the footage, but they didn't show it here. So there must have been some footage of something that they cut out that made this so awkward.
I did notice this thing was only 2 hours and 10 minutes on the network.
Yeah, they must have cut a lot of stuff out for some reason.
A good chunk of stuff got cut out for whatever reason.
I mean, I would say they weren't allowed to show footage from WCW, but they own it.
Yeah. So, Page is gloating about his win, but he stops to drop a sincere line about how he's sorry about Hogan's leg injury.
Yeah.
He wanted Hogan to be in the ring when he won the world title.
It killed him to see Hogan have to go, but he sucked it up to win the world title.
That's right.
That was like a heel line.
Well, yes. You figure that out. So, Gene brings up Sting, who has already called out Page tonight, and Page says, Sting and I have a lot in common. I see a lot of myself in Sting, which is also a heel line. And Sting deserves a title shot tonight, but he can't get it because I want Scott Steiner instead. And he made a dick joke, and he left, and they scurried to commercial to avoid playing his music again.
He says, I'm going to prove that size doesn't matter. Something you've probably heard a few times, Steiner.
Yeah.
I was like, clearly this was before he beat the shit out of you that one day.
That's probably true.
Like, I can't imagine saying something like that to Scott Steiner. Even some bullshit fake line in a promo. That guy's nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's crazy and scary. So we got a shot of the announcers jibber-jabbering and putting their negative chemistry on full display. The fact these two men, Tony and Bobby, were no one split them up for years and years.
Yeah, but they were also laughing at each other. I mean, it was a weird kind of dynamic.
This is not like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I thought Tony was going to start throwing punches.
No.
But they were not a good pair.
No, but he was really burying Tenay. He's
That's
like
true.
burying Tenay's voice and making fun of Larry Golfin all the time. Like they're doing this weird announcer feud with one group on Nitro, one group on Thunder.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing this for? What's the point?
That's the payoff, yes.
Yeah. I mean, to amuse us, I guess, but there is no payoff.
Mm-hmm. Mean Gene brings Ric Flair out for a promo. Flair is upset about Page booking matches, and then he announces he's going to have the World Championship held up, and there'll be no champion. And the announcers and Gene are all debating whether or not he can do this as president, when Randy Savage interrupts to his new generic music. He comes out and says, I have a contract signed by Ric Flair. He stopped here in the middle of this to call himself the Universal Heartthrob, the Big Showstopper, and the Cock of the Walk. And he says this, and Flair starts to giggle.
He giggles, but he's mad.
Yes.
Like, you're not the cock of the walk.
That's right. I'll
That's
show
me.
you.
By the way, like, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, we were reviewing these shows, and Randy Savage was on there, and I said, God, it's so weird, because, like, it's not too long before he comes back, and he's, like, really weird looking. Like, what happened? Because he doesn't look like that at all right now. Well, what happened is he took time off, because he came back weird looking.
He did.
He's got a new body. He's wearing that do-rag. He's got his hair all weird.
Weird jacket.
Got a 22-year-old girlfriend with him.
Yeah.
She's our age right now.
Well, yeah.
Do you know that?
She would be. So the point of this contract is Ric Flair signed this thing, making Randy Savage the special referee for the four-way.
Special reefer?
That I cannot confirm or deny that they had one of those too. Special referee for the four-way, and Savage's decision is final. There's nothing Flair can do about it. Which begs the question, why did Flair sign this contract for the referee in his own title match?
Because this promotion sucks.
That's the answer.
And they book on the fly, and they have to come up with bullshit to try to make it make sense, which never happens, by the way.
No. So Flair says Savage is not reinstated. He's not a wrestler. He's not reffing anymore. He's not even allowed to clean the bathrooms. Charles Robinson is there with Flair. He jumps in saying Savage isn't qualified to ref a match, and he calls Gorgeous George a bimbo.
Oh, man. She slaps the shit out of him.
Yes. And Savage says, I want to wrestle more than life itself, so I have a challenge.
Okay, let's all stop here for a second and just recap what's going on, okay?
All right.
Savage comes out, and he tries to be the cock of the walk. And Flair's like, well, fuck you, you're fired. Savage realizes, shit, I actually want to work here.
Yes.
So Flair, Flair does not want him reinstated. He doesn't want him coming out down the aisle, walking to the ring with the girl, doesn't even want him to be a janitor.
No.
You're out of here, you're fired. And Savage says, well, what about if Gorgeous George and Little Nate wrestle, and if she wins, I'm back?
Yeah.
And Flair's like, hey, sure. This sucks, okay? Like, it's not the shittiest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it sucks.
He challenged the man's pride and ego.
No, he didn't. He challenged Little Nature's pride and ego.
Who is Flair's protege.
Oh, God.
So by proxy.
This is dumb. And then, I don't remember what happened in the match, okay? But Flair says Little Nate is going to beat her with the figure 4 leg lock.
Yes.
And Randy Savage says, well, she's going to win with the flying elbow. Are you fucking kidding me?
Do you remember this?
No. Did they ever come off the top with a flying fucking elbow on Little Nate? With zero training.
I'm trying to remember your exact words. She delivered an elbow as if she was trying to drive her elbow through the man's sternum. Like all her weight comes down on the point of her elbow on his chest.
Oh, great.
Yes. You freaked out.
I'm freaking out right now.
Thinking about it. It's as bad as you're thinking.
And then I think it's Tony goes, well, she does have big elbows. I was like, what? Is that supposed to be like a boob joke, but you're talking about her elbows? I didn't know what was going on in this segment.
So Sting comes out and says Diamond Dallas Trash is dodging him. So he challenges Flair for tonight. Arn accepts on Flair's behalf and says, I'll be out there too. And then Sting and Flair go face to face and nose to nose. They're cutting each other down, and it's awesome. Why didn't Sting and Flair just wrestle on every single episode of Nitro?
They should have.
They were
By the end, they wrestle on most of them, I think.
They were on the very first show, and they were on the very last show. They should have been on every single show in the middle.
You know, I said that like I'm right 99% of the time, but 1% of the time I'm wrong.
Okay.
This is one of those times because no matter what I tell you would happen here, I was wrong.
Okay.
I'm just befuddled. And it actually was a decent segment.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody that bumbled over anything.
Everyone came off looking good.
Yeah, it was nonsensical.
Flair
but
was good. Savage was good.
Yeah.
Nate was good. George was hot. Sting was awesome.
Overall, this was a very good show, but we'll get to that.
La Parka and El Dandy versus the Master Blasters.
The Master Blasters literally were wearing pantyhose on their heads.
Yes. On national television.
They come out here wearing pantyhose on their heads. Two jacked up dudes. I guess they were friends with a couple of guys. I don't remember who. They didn't last long.
I would assume it would be this one match.
and the announcers are just chugging this surge. And
This explains a lot the more I think about it.
I think it was Bobby. I don't even remember what he said because it wasn't very funny. But he basically said, after the match tonight, these guys can go rob a bank. Tony thought this was the funniest thing Bobby had ever said.
Yes.
He howled with laughter. He was crying. I don't know why, but they were sure drinking that surge.
So you got La Parka in no shirt and purple tights, El Dandy in no shirt and purple tights, and La Parka in a skeleton costume, and they look significantly less absurd than the big jacked up dudes with pantyhose on their heads. Now, wasn't Kevin Nash's tag team way back in the day, wasn't that also the Master Blasters?
Yes,
Because-
but not these two.
No, clearly not these two. But Tony made a comment about how there was a team known as the Master Blasters about 8 years ago that was pretty big, pretty tough. So they start to wrestle, and Nash immediately comes out. He is also drinking Surge.
Fuck.
They play a Wolfpack howl as he walks out in the middle of this match. He gets in the ring with the mic and says, "Sorry, guys, I'm not on the show, but I got something to say. Y'all need to leave."
Yeah, get out of here, everybody.
So they don't leave. He beats them all up in a terrible display.
Dude, he's holding a mic, okay? First, he just starts booting random guys. Then he starts giving side slams, but he only has one arm, so it looks
Yes.
so phony.
Yes.
He beats them all up and makes them look like absolute geeks. And then, after all that, his big announcement is, I'm getting a championship match at the next pay-per-view. That's what I negotiated with Flair last week.
You're leaving out the heavy breathing because he was completely blown up.
That's right.
From 3 power bombs and a couple of boots.
But the point is, what a dick.
Yes.
You had to run in and ruin that match for that?
Let's break down this announcement, in fact, and all that went into it. He shows the video last week. He was all chummy with Ric Flair, and we were all confused as to why they were friends. And here Nash explains. They made a deal that if Flair left Nitro last week with the world title, then Kevin Nash would get a title shot at whoever was champion at the next pay-per-view, which I believe is Slamboree. So, to recap, they do the crazy thing on Nitro last week. At Spring Stampede, Nash loses to Goldberg clean. Flair loses the title. And on the next show, it's Nash who gets a title shot.
Yes.
This man's amazing. This is ingenious.
Well, he's not that ingenious because he didn't manage to beat Goldberg again.
Well, I guess
He did
that's
actually
true.
have to do a job.
Well, but he found a way to return the favor to Goldberg and still come out of it challenging for the title on the next show.
Of course.
He's still way higher
because
on
they
the bill
probably talked him into, listen, do the job for Goldberg and you'll headline the next pay-per-view.
Yes.
He's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So he played the game. He calls out Paige, says he's going to punish him for what happened to Hogan, and apparently now it's Nash versus Paige at the pay-per-view. Kidman versus Psychosis. Your standard WCW Cruiserweight match. Dives in the ring, dives out of the ring, and Kidman won with the powerbomb counter and the shooting star press.
Yeah, don't powerbomb Kidman. Have we ever mentioned that before?
Terrible idea.
It's a fact. I will say one more thing about this match. It's Kidman versus Psychosis in Yakima, which actually does have a heavy Hispanic population,
Yes.
so maybe that's why they were into Psychosis. But the point is, they were very into this match, and it was so much more heat than any Cruiserweight match you'd see on Raw, or most of them you'd still even see today on 205 Live, because it is a testament to the kind of fans that went to WCW events.
True.
These were not WWE fans. These were fans of wrestling, and they were fans of NWA World Championship Wrestling. And they went to these shows. They watched this show. Like, even when Raw was at its peak, there were like 4 million people still watching Nitro. They were WCW wrestling fans. They stuck with it. Unfortunately, the company started giving them less and less of what they wanted.
Yes.
That's why they went out of business. But because they were that sort of fan, when WCW died, to them, wrestling died.
Yes.
WWE was not wrestling. And so they vanished into the ether. That was these fans watching this match tonight.
So we had pics of Goldberg beating Nash at Spring Stampede. Not only was it clean, Lex Luger tried to interfere and Goldberg fought him off too. So then Mean Gene brings Goldberg out for a promo. And Goldberg says he got to 174-0, and then he got screwed. And they bleeped screwed. So he got his vindication last night, he says. Now he's moving on to Bret Hart. Not the world title, I'll mention that later. So he says he was the hunted as champion. Now he's the hunter. He's going to find Bret wherever he is.
Gene goes, hold on, dude. He announced his retirement.
Yeah, he quit.
Goldberg does not buy this.
No.
Because he's not an idiot.
Gene brings up Luger, who'd interfered, and Goldberg threatened to knock Luger's face off, which seems excessive to me.
It sucks.
And finally, Gene brings up the world title. Goldberg sincerely congratulated Page on his title win. He meant this. But it said it didn't matter if Page is the president, or Page has the belt, or the president has the belt, or King Kong has the belt. I'm going to get it. And then he immediately said he didn't need the belt to be the champ. And they wrap this up. Gene says, it's not like the question isn't who's next, it's who's left. And Goldberg says, no, it's not who's left, it's who's next.
Gene fucked the whole thing up. What an idiot. Goldberg was a totally fine promo.
Yeah.
Like, he felt real.
Yes.
He didn't feel like some numbskull being a fake pro wrestler or anything like that.
Oh, God, no.
Not a great promo, but he was a good promo. He was a phenomenon of a wrestler.
Yes, that's for sure.
He's a Hall of Awesomer if ever there was one. He's in there, right?
I think so.
Pretty sure we put him in.
He absolutely should be.
God damn it. Now I got to check. I don't even know who's in my own Hall of Awesome.
Apparently, Randy Orton was inducted when I was...
Yeah.
Was I sick? What happened?
You weren't on it was on the Filthy show.
Filthy can do this now?
Well, no, I did it.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, you agree, right? He's awesome.
He has been awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? On behalf of my wife, Bridget, I will say Randy Orton's awesome.
See? Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That was easy. See that, everybody? Easy.
Yeah.
Where the hell is my Hall of Awesome? Where would it be on the board? The
It's on
radio shows?
Yeah. It's sticky up in the radio shows section.
All right, here we go. Let's see who's in the Hall of Awesome. So we got Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, J.J. Dillon, Minoru Suzuki, Okada, Dick Murdoch, Ric Flair, Goldberg, Bret Hart, and Randy Orton.
I want these men on a card now.
That's a pretty damn
That would be
awesome
awesome.
haul. Yeah.
I want Suzuki versus Goldberg. Oh, that'd be fun. Booker T versus Rick Steiner. 24 hours after Booker T versus Scott Steiner at the pay-per-view. So they're having a fun back-and-forth match. Rick goes up top. The ref gets bumped. Rick goes up top. Stevie Ray knocks him off with a slapjack, and Booker hits a sidekick for the win. And the gimmick is Booker did not even know that his brother had interfered and given him this win.
So this is a little nitpick. I mean, it wasn't bad, but the ref takes a bump and he goes down.
Yes.
This is to set up Stevie Ray using the slapjack. But the ref goes down and then he gets right back
Oh,
up.
that's right. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what did you take a fucking bump for, dude? Then Stevie Ray runs down. The ref is already back on his feet. So then the ref just goes,
My
and
eyes.
starts grabbing his eyes. I'm like, what happened with your eyes? And he hides his eyes till the guy comes in and then he counts the pin. Can they do anything right?
I forget which show it was, but one of these, there's a ref bump where the guy's down for like 8 minutes. It's just
Yeah.
down forever. Scott Steiner comes out, cuts a promo saying, Yakima women are ugly, but he's going to fuck one anyway. I'm paraphrasing. Kenny Chaos versus Goldberg.
Second half was good. I don't know why Goldberg decided, let's have a match, Kenny. You get a little heat.
He wanted to no-sell some punches,
I'll make a comeback.
throw him around a bit. When you say the second half, this only went like a minute.
No, hell no. Went
go
like
longer?
at least 3 minutes.
All right.
I was like 90 seconds too long.
So, yeah, he...
My favorite. He sets him up for a pump handle. He bends the guy over, puts the guy's arm between his own legs, grabs it, goes underneath like he's going to do the big pump handle. And Tony Schiavone, who's been drinking a lot of Surge, goes, God, that must hurt. Didn't even do anything yet.
No.
But he's got his arm between his legs. That must hurt.
You've never seen a less flexible man than Kenny Chaos trying to get pump handled.
So he gets him for the pump handle. He's got him all set up. And of course, you did the one where you lift him up and slam him.
Yes.
I think Road Dogg does the same one.
Yeah.
Some guys lift
Wade
him up
Barrett
and
did.
Yeah, drop him over the knee.
Yeah.
Goldberg gets this guy in the pump handle, and then he just goes whoosh,
Yes.
and fucking suplexes the guy 10 feet over his head.
Yes.
It was so awesome.
And there's some where you can see, not only does he suplex him over his head, but first he lifts him off the ground first. So he's suplexing dead weight.
Yes.
He's amazing. And then he won with a jackhammer. Shocking, I know.
He's awesome.
He beat Kenny Chaos. Ric Flair versus Sting. They did every Ric Flair Sting match ever, and it was
Cool.
just as good as all the other ones.
Let's do some more of them.
Yes.
It was one of those matches where, like, they're doing every Flair Sting match I've ever seen, and so at first I'm kind of bored, but then it was fucking great by the end.
Yes. There's a reason they do the same one every time. Fans really hated Ric Flair, chanting that he sucked. So Flair gets his brief moment of offense, and he goes for a knee drop, and Sting doesn't sit up or dodge, roll out of the way. He just reaches up and catches the leg.
Yes,
like
I've
he's
seen
bench
this many
pressing it.
times in Sting Flair matches. It's
Yes.
preposterous, but it works.
And he hits the figure 4.
Let me talk about the finish.
All right.
So first, Macho runs down. Flair's got Sting
Arn
in the
had been
figure 4.
interfering a lot.
Flair has Sting in the figure 4, and Arn's helping him.
Yes.
Macho Man runs down and just kills Arn Anderson, who, by the way, is retired for a bad neck. He's out there taking bumps like crazy. WWE would never allow this today. So Flair goes for a suplex. Sting slips behind, hits the Scorpion Death Drop. Charles Robinson drops down. He will not count. So what do they do for a finish because Charles Robinson won't count? Sting goes, count! And so he counted.
Yes. So otherwise, Sting was going to kill him.
I didn't know it was that easy. All these years, these shitheads can't figure out how to get a heel ref to count for you.
Yeah.
Just fucking tell him.
Threatened him with violence.
He didn't even threaten him. He just goes, count.
Well, I'm sure that threat was implied. If you'd seen the look in Sting's
Well,
eyes,
sure.
that Charles Robinson
I mean, he's
did.
painted up.
But it made sense because he doesn't want to count because Flair's his god, and Sting's got the cover, and he won't. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to count because he wants Flair to win, but Arn's dead. Flair's dead. There's no one else to save him from the scary mime if he pisses him off. So eventually he has no choice. He must count 3. Has to get out of there somehow. So I don't blame Charles for what he did. I don't question his loyalty either. It made sense. Arn hits the ring. Sting puts him in the Scorpion for good measure.
Oh, man. Then we got the main event. Here we go.
So Roddy Piper comes out to join the
Oh,
contest.
you're going way too fast. It's DDP Scott Steiner for the world title.
Yes.
They hit Roddy's music. I'm like, Roddy Piper? What the fuck's going on? This dude lurches down to the ring.
Yeah.
Like, they had 15 minutes left. It's a Nitro main event. They usually go a minute. So, boy, did this fucker take his time down to the ring. He lurches down to the ring. You've never seen a guy moving so slow. Finally gets down to the ring, starts rambling in the booth, and we go to Michael Buffer. Not as good as last week. But I did like when,
This is the Steiner line?
in describing Scott Steiner, he said, he is wrestling's genetic freak. The only thing he loves more than his physiques, plural, is hating everyone who gets in his way.
That was awesome. That was my favorite Michael Buffer ever.
Oh, no. He's had way better than that.
The only thing he likes more than his physique is hating everyone who gets in his way. That's like the one thing Scott Steiner and I have in common. I also hate everyone who gets in my way more than I like my own physique.
Physiques.
Physiques. So Piper comes out and he joins the commentary desk and immediately begins to talk about the Nitro Girls' boobs.
Oh, yeah. He's just talking about their boobs and everything. So then DDP comes out.
Yeah.
And he comes through the curtain and he beckons for Kimberly.
Yeah.
And Kimberly starts coming out with him. She's all smiles. And then she starts heading off to the side.
Yeah.
DDP's like, no, come with me. She's like, I don't want to come with you.
Scott
come
Steiner's
with
in the
me.
ring. He's going to try and kill me.
She's all pissed off. He's dragging her ass to the ring.
Mm-hmm.
She clearly doesn't want to be any part of this. I was like, this is not going to bode well for your marriage, my friend.
No.
And in the end, it didn't.
No.
And he puts her there in the front row. She is fucking swarmed by weirdos. And security rushes over there to save her.
Yeah.
They go back to commentary.
So Paige is wearing the title belt backwards for reasons that were never explained. I don't know. We talked earlier about his music for the promo segment where they just cut it out entirely. Here they could not cut out his entrance. So the editing they did for his theme song was just bizarre.
They just turned the volume all the way down. You
Kinda.
could barely hear Buffer.
You could barely hear the announcers, but it also sounded like they were underwater and there was an echo. It was like we for whatever reason we want to erase the song, but we can't. So we'll cover it up with as much random noise as we can.
So they go back to the announcers and they're talking about how. Well, first Piper says he's burying DDP. Now he won the
He
title.
was up. Well, that too, but he's appalled at the way he's wrestling here.
Yeah, so he says, I'm the commissioner. Things are about to change.
Oh, he's the commissioner. I forgot.
So they're wrestling, and Piper goes, DDP, he threw your wife out of a moving car. Like, do something.
Why are you posing to the crowd?
Yeah. And Bobby Heenan says, well, I don't know. I don't think that Steiner knew that she was in the car. And I think she jumped out. And Roddy Piper, who normally is like on Mars, hears this and he just says, on her head? And there's a pause. And Heenan goes, I believe you're right. So they cut to the announcers. And like, I'm glad we're like, if you don't have the video, you can't see this. I'm just going to explain it. They cut to the announcers, and normally it's the three announcers sitting at the desk with their papers in front of them, and they're talking. Mm-hmm. They cut to the desk. Heenan is facing the camera with his papers. Roddy Piper is facing the camera with his papers. And Tony Schiavone is like leaning back in his chair, and he's just laughing his ass off at Roddy Piper. Roddy's he's talking about how Flair's broke. He's broke. He's doing everything he can now to make money as the president. He ain't got no money. He says, Steiner, he turned in a big Papa Pump right after Viagra came out.
He said that.
I'm like, if this fucker hears you say that. Buries DDP for not giving Sting a match tonight. Buries Hulk Hogan for leaving after he hurt his knee. What a coward. He hurt his knee and he walked out. He's just going on and on.
So they're brawling all over the place, Steiner and Page are. And the ref gets bumped. Steiner cuts off a turnbuckle pad. Here's the ref bump that was like 5 minutes long. So gets his head thrown on the turnbuckle pad, but there's no ref. Page hits a DDT, but there's no ref. So Steiner says it's time for me to break this man's back and make him humble. And he goes for the Steiner recliner. And Page counters this by, from his hands and knees, he thrusts his head up and up and up over and over again, so the back of his head strikes Scott Steiner in the testicles over and over again.
Hey, that would hurt.
Oh, it sure would.
Do you want me to do that to you?
I don't.
Okay.
But it also made me laugh over and over again. So Paige stumbles over through the ropes, and Kimberly jumps up and just waffles Scott Steiner with a chair. And Paige hits a diamond cutter, and the ref revives and counts the pin, and that's the end of the show.
Dude, given the storyline, this finish was awesome.
Yeah.
And boy, did she fucking whack this guy with his chair.
I'm sure he told her,
this was
make this look good.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, Vinny. Like, you get a normal person with a chair, and you can tell them to make it look good, and they're still going to swing it as weakly as possible. Mm-hmm. Not Kimberly.
No.
She swung that chair like a baseball bat, whacked that guy in the head. This was a good match. Mm-hmm. Great finish.
Yeah.
Played into the storyline. Show was not winning the war. In fact, you'll be stunned to hear, but after weeks and weeks of bullshit hour ones, the first hour of the show absolutely just died in the ratings. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It was a fine, fun, professional wrestling show.
Fun is a good word.
Yes.
I have seen better shows, for sure, but this was fun. I enjoyed myself watching it.
This show's terrible.
It was an awful show.
Nitro was way better.
I love Nitro.
Think about that.
This Nitro was awesome.
This was a Nitro that opened up with Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko versus the Armstrong brothers. Mm-hmm. Now,
the lesser of the two Armstrong brothers, Scott and Steve.
Granted,
not Brad and Brian.
Scott and Steve are good wrestlers.
Yes.
But there's no reason that anybody should give a shit about them. But you know what? Nitro has conditioned fans to thinking that WCW sucks. Okay? Mm-hmm. But it has not conditioned them into not liking professional wrestling.
Right.
Which Raw has. Mm-hmm. So
this hasn't recovered in 2018 from that, by the way.
No. So on Nitro, what you've got is, it is an uncool company. It is a company that, as the next 2 years wear on, fans are going to stop buying tickets. They think WCW sucks, and it's going to eventually go out of business. That's what they've conditioned these fans into thinking. However, they still love their wrestling. And so when fucking Scott and Steve Armstrong, when the fuck's the last time they've been on WCW television?
I think the cat beat them up by himself.
Yeah, like a long time ago, one bullshit nothing match. They come out here and they go like 12 minutes with Benoit and Malenko. Mm-hmm. It's a fucking awesome match. Mm-hmm. The fans are going crazy. They love this match.
Yes. For Scott and Steve Armstrong.
Let's begin.
So Scott and Steve Armstrong versus Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko. And as you noted, and I realized I took a shot at Scott and Steve Armstrong here, but as Jim Cornette once said, there's never been an Armstrong that didn't know how to wrestle. And these Armstrongs were a perfect opening match babyface tag team. They had all their spots. They got a little flurry of offense at the start, and then the Horsemen cheated to cut them off. And God bless Scott and Steve, but they were geeks, and the Horsemen were stars. And even when the Horsemen cheated, it was the stars winning, so the place went crazy.
Well, it's the Horsemen being the Horsemen.
Yeah, that's also true.
These are wrestling fans who love the Four Horsemen.
Right. The only time the fans are not into this match specifically is when an overwhelming Goldberg chant broke out.
Sure.
Because he's Goldberg.
But it didn't ruin the match, and they got back into the wrestling.
Exactly. And eventually, they had the heat on Steve for a long time. Scott made a big comeback. Steve stopped to brawl with Arn on the floor. Now, first I was laughing because Arn was beating his ass, which was funny. But then Steve made a comeback, and Arn Anderson, who has nerve damage, which has forced him to retire, took a bump on the floor.
He's been doing that for weeks now.
Yeah. Eventually, Dean got a hold of Scott, I believe, yes, and finished him off with the butterfly powerbomb and a Texas cloverleaf. This ruled.
This is the best Nitro tag match in months, maybe the best Nitro match in months, for all I know.
Charles Robinson is the ref for this match, and he is the Horseman's referee.
Yes.
And, well, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but dastardly heel is Charles Robinson.
He's...
Yeah, the Horsemen are supposed to be healed.
Why must there always be a crooked ref in WCW at all times?
Right.
We did the whole Nick Patrick saga. Then once he gets straightened out, here's Charles Robinson.
Scott Dickinson. You already forgot about that.
I did forget about Scott
There was
Dickinson.
no follow-up to
Because
it.
there was no payoff to it. It sucked.
That was so stupid.
Yeah.
Not everything is good in WCW here. Just the
Tell me
wrestling.
more. Oh, this is not the show to complain. Roddy Piper was backstage looking over some contracts. He signed them both, he said. Randy Savage arrived. Doug Dillinger said, Ric Flair has barred you from the building. But Piper intervened, said, I am commissioner. I will take responsibility for this. And he let Savage and Gorgeous George in.
Yep.
Mean Gene brings DDP out for an interview.
Okay, hold on. Vinny. For weeks now, I've been asking you if DDP is a babyface or a heel. Okay?
Yeah.
You keep telling me he's a heel.
Right?
Okay. It was not until the very end of the show that you were proven right.
Pretty much.
Where have you been getting that he is a heel?
I mean, he was still mad at Scott Steiner, but it was mostly the way he did the comeback. What did he say in his comeback promo? I forget. He's been a dick.
Yeah, but he's DDP. He's from Jersey.
But
he's like Mark.
He's been a grumpy dick.
Okay.
He was a happy dick for the years before.
I couldn't figure out. I mean, he's gonna.
So many jokes.
He did in this promo say that he was not going to face Goldberg here tonight. That was a heel move.
Mm-hmm. He did the same thing last week.
Yes, but then Goldberg comes out. They go no-to-nose, and Paige agrees to put the title on the line. So again, is he a babyface or a heel?
So he, and to be fair, my takeaway from the show closing angle is that I have no idea who the babyfaces and heels are. I know Goldberg is a babyface. And I'm pretty sure Paige is a heel, and the rest of it, I have no fucking clue.
I think Hogan and Nash are baby faces.
Right, but their friends in the NWO are heels.
Yes,
it's the B team, the black and white are heels. Scott Steiner's a heel, but everyone loves him. It's all Flair is a heel. Everyone loves him. I don't know. It's very complicated and convoluted.
It's a convoluted mess,
and it's not good.
No, it's not good at all. The other thing is Paige. Even though they showed here was in the context of the match, they had told us that at Spring Stampede, he was the one who had injured Hulk Hogan's knee. Mm-hmm. And he stole Bret Hart's ring post figure 4. But like I said, it was in the context of trying to win the world title. So this is not so much evil as it is just ruthless. Regardless, the majority of this promo was drowned out by Goldberg chants. They were in Gainesville, Georgia. I think I've said this like 3 weeks in a row, but they need to do every show from this place.
Well, Goldberg was also getting a title match later in the evening, and the champion was Diamond Dallas Page.
That's also true.
So I think that everybody was figuring, well, obviously Goldberg's going to win the title here tonight.
Yeah. So yeah, Page said, no, I will not defend the title tonight. It's not going to happen. He started to say why, but then Goldberg came out. Gene screamed, and I mean screamed, I'm out of here. He left, and Goldberg and Page went nose to nose, as Brian said, and Shivani somehow determined in this that Page had accepted Goldberg's challenge. Piper met with David Flair and his bottle of Surge.
Gosh.
They confirmed the contract, whatever it was, covered 72 hours just for observation.
Yes.
And David signed the contract and laughed.
You know, I wrote a book about the death of WCW.
You never mentioned that.
The new and improved version, 40% larger. This book is so goddamn long. You read it, it's like reading the Bible. And actually, it's like...
It's not like reading the Bible.
It is like reading the Bible,
No,
V.
no,
it's that thick. I wrote it in the King's English. Point of this is, this shit was a blink of the eye.
Yeah.
This fucking guy's in the mental hospital next week.
Yes.
And then he's going to be like buried in the desert.
Right.
Like this shit is just like... You think about the Attitude Era as like an era. Like the Pleistocene era.
What's that again?
It was 6 years.
It's where the dinosaurs lived.
And we're almost at the end of it.
Yes.
That's how you pronounce it.
Sure.
Pleistocene.
So
Is it not? Do I have to look this up?
I think it's just Pleistocene.
Yeah, I said it right.
You said Pleistocene.
No, Pleistocene.
Do it again. Pleistocene. Not Pleistocene.
Pleistocene.
Yeah.
Pleistocene.
Pleistocene. I was
The
close.
fucking point of this era is very short.
But-
We've been watching it from the beginning. It's almost over.
Yeah. But as much stuff happened in this very short era as actually happened in the real Pleistocene era.
That is true.
That's why it feels so long.
There were dinosaurs.
There were
There
dinosaurs.
were cavemen.
Yes, we call them Jim Duggan and
Jim Duggan.
yeah,
He's
dinosaurs.
the low on the list of dinosaurs I was thinking of, but
We just
anyway.
we can make a Bobby Heenan joke about his brain.
Yeah, yeah.
So after the break, Gene interviews Paige backstage just to make it clear what was not made clear in the promo segment. Paige says, yes, the title will be on the line. He has never backed down from a challenge in his life. And then Gene has them show the footage of Paige putting Hogan in the ring post figure 4, but Paige does not stick around to talk about what happened after that. Psychosis versus Juventud Guerrera versus Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Blitzkrieg.
Allow me for one moment here. I realize that this was 19 years ago. To the day, almost. And it's not fair to go back and rate matches then like we rate them here today. Maybe I'd have to go back and read the figure 4 from this week and find out what I thought about this match. Our own Dave Meltzer called this a super 4-way. He said that Blitzkrieg was one of the most improved wrestlers he'd ever seen. What the fuck match was he watching? This fucking match. Am I the only one?
They did every wrestling move in the world.
They did 9 million moves.
Yes.
And they kept going.
Yes.
And they kept going.
Yes.
And they lost the crowd.
That is true.
Blitzkrieg then hit a twisting 450.
Yes.
It was broken up.
Yes.
They kept going. The fans began to boo because they fucking kept going.
It is true.
They fucked up 10,000 spots.
I didn't see that.
They kept going.
That is true.
And then after all of these crazy moves, Psychosis does a leg drop off the top rope and wins. You know what this was? This was the best and worst of pro wrestling all rolled up into one match. Some of this was spectacular. Some of this was complete shit.
Wow.
And it went on as long as the Pleistocene era.
Well, let me start with some of the facts. Nothing you said factual is wrong. I actually timed this out. This went 17 minutes plus the commercial break.
Yes!
This went longer than the tag match before it went to commercial. They did a bunch more stuff. And yes, it is true. 15 minutes into this, the crowd was, and losing interest is kind. There were boring chants. Now,
Yes! That's bad.
well, it is. I was watching this, and I was watching these 4 dudes go 1,000,000 miles an hour for 20 minutes, kicking each other in the face over and over and over again. I loved it. I thought this match was great.
Well, it was mostly Blitzkrieg and Psychosis kicking each other in the face.
Yeah.
And I think it began when Blitzkrieg... Psychosis just like... He's just doing something on the mat. Like he's picking up Ray or something, and fucking Blitzkrieg just drop kicks him right in the face. And from that point forward, Psychosis decided, I'm going to fucking kick you in the face. And then Blitzkrieg kicked him in the face. They fucking kept kicking each other in the face.
There was a point where Ray makes a cover on somebody, and somebody else kicks him. But he makes a cover, and the camera like zooms in. So you can just see like Ray's head and shoulders and the guy who's being pinned from like his head down to his waist. And the ref counts 1, and the ref counts 2, and suddenly there are 2 feet flying across the screen through Ray's head, not slowing down, continue to fly across the screen. I screamed and I laughed, which is basically what I want to do in every match. Yes, this went too long. Yes, they did too much stuff. There was a point somebody was like supposed to do a Faymaster and basically just sat down on the guy's head off the top rope. That probably sucked. But hey, they worked their asses off.
Hey, they worked their asses off. I will not take that away from them.
And they beat the shit out of each other.
Okay. As a match, this was terrible.
As a fight, it was great.
It was great if you love to see green guys. Actually, there was only one real green guy, but...
Yes.
God, Hoovy and Ray, I don't know what they were trying. They fucked it up, and Ray just elbows him right in the face.
Yeah.
What was it at the end there?
I don't care. I saw the elbow.
Dude.
All I know is usually when I see these, I've admitted this went too long, but usually when I see these long 4-way spot fests, they come off as ultra choreographed. And
This wasn't.
No, this was an ugly fight with 4 small angry dudes. And all the fighting was done via flips and kicks. This ruled.
Oh my God, look at this guy.
I love this match.
Dude, no. It was fine.
It was too much.
You know what it was?
I will accept that.
It was too much.
It was too much.
Listen to me.
I don't disagree.
Okay, so there's 2 extremes. Mm-hmm. There's the old 205 Live, where there's a bunch of small men laying on the mat in headlocks for 15 fucking minutes, and everyone's bored out of their skull.
Yes.
Then there's this. Can't we just have like a happy medium?
I will accept that they overshot their target.
If this would have ended 8 minutes in, this would have been a super match.
That's fair.
Sure.
They went 10 extra minutes.
They did factually go twice as long as they probably should have.
You know what this was? This was the end of Raw, where Stone Cold Steve Austin was in a monster truck, and he ran the fuck over The Rock's car, and then he was like, I'm going to run over it again. Mm-hmm. He ran over it a second time. Yes. That's what this was. This was like a train wreck, where the train got in a big wreck, and then they were like, well, let's blow it up.
Now we'll light it on fire.
Sure.
Mean Gene brings Ric Flair out for a promo. So Flair is sucking up to the Florida Gators crowd. He has Florida Gators t-shirt on.
He's supposed to be a fucking heel. He cannot help himself.
Because what Ric Flair loves is college parties.
And college girls.
And college women at college parties drinking college beer. So he's got the Florida Gators t-shirt on, as we will soon learn Florida Gators boxers on. He's ranting about how great it is to be president. He promises to buy a drink for every single person in the crowd who shows up.
He did say that.
When Piper interrupts. Now, the fans love Flair, so they hate Piper, even though Piper's supposed to be the babyface.
Yeah, Flair goes, I will buy beer for everybody here in this crowd. And Piper shows up and says, you won't be buying these kids any beer. Suddenly, he was dad. They booed the fuck out of this guy.
Well, he has kids. He has a lot of kids. So
no, he's their dad.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Piper says Flair's out of his
their
mind.
crazy uncle.
Creepy uncle.
Flair's the guy who graduated 8 years ago and won't leave.
20 years ago and
He's McConaughey.
Yes, he's what the hell's his name?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Piper says Flair's signing papers without even reading them. Says he's Rick's friend, but Rick needs to step down as president. He talks about a few weeks ago. Piper says you handcuff yourself to the ropes and strip down to your shorts. And Arn says calmly, he explains, I've seen him with his pants off many times. It don't mean anything. It's just Rick. Which is true.
It is true.
So Rick strips to his boxers, declares, I am Ric Flair, the President of the United States. And Gene says, WCW. And Flair says, WCW. So Piper says he has some papers for Gene to read. He doesn't like it, but he will enforce it.
God.
Gene,
couldn't he have just typed up the gist of it to give to Gene?
Gene reads a long court document, a legal form announcing that Roderick Piper and David Flair have had Ric Flair declared incompetent. And Flair defies this, orders Piper fired. So one's the president and one's the commissioner. They're both trying to fire each other.
Right.
Piper announces Flair versus Kevin Nash for tonight. Let's stop right here. A court of law has deemed that Ric Flair is not mentally fit to serve as president of this company, a private organization. He is no longer competent to handle this. However, we can book him in a fight. That's okay.
At about this time, Charles Robinson comes out, much like the stagehand trying to get Living in America. What's the guy?
Eddie Murphy?
No,
James Brown.
James Brown, trying to get James Brown off the stage, and drapes the robe on top of Flair, and he's still going.
Yeah. So Flair screams, "You're fired!" Piper says, "No, I'm not." And Flair says, "You're fired." And Piper says, "No, I'm not." And this goes on for a while. Flair books himself against Piper at Slamboree, and if Piper wins, you can run this damn company. You're fired, though. This keeps going on. Okay. Ordinarily, I would hate this segment.
Why?
Because it makes no sense.
Well, the bigger issue is this was death for business, but Flair was an awesome crazy guy.
Flair and Piper being crazy and shouting at each other was gold. Gold, I tell you.
You know this was when Steve Austin turned heel. It absolutely tanked business.
Sure.
But goddamn, he was funny.
Yes.
That's exactly.
You're right, actually.
That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Like nobody wanted to pay to see this Ric Flair, but goddamn, he was good at being this Ric Flair.
Yes.
It's life.
Yeah, that's the Piper tried to leave. Flair and his boxers chased him down, and they briefly brawled in the aisle, and they went to commercial.
I'm sure they just called that on the fly.
I'm sure he did too.
Flair wanted to take him
Piper
out
probably thought it was a fan when somebody tapped her on the shoulder.
in his underwear.
The B teamers meet Conan.
Oh my God, this was amazing. Conan's in the hallway. He's walking down the hallway. There's the NWO B team. Mm-hmm. They stop him. He looks around. Shit.
Yeah.
They begin to surround him. Start asking him questions. He knows he's fucked. He still tries to walk away, but he's fucked. They jumped him and they beat his ass. A message, they said, from Kevin Nash.
That's what happened.
The babyface Kevin Nash.
Well, Nash denied
I see.
any of this later.
Okay, so they go to break, and then Tony Schiavone comes back and tries to explain the Ric Flair Roddy Piper promo. I transcribed every single word.
Oh, really?
Are you ready?
Please.
Ric Flair has now been deemed incompetent and is no longer president. But he still fired Roddy Piper. But he said he'll fire him after he fights him at Slamboree when they go one-on-one, which Piper agreed to. But Ric Flair, who is fired, and is no longer president because he's incompetent, but has fired Piper, and then wrestle at Slamboree on May 9th, will still wrestle tonight against Big Sexy Kevin Nash on this program. This is my favorite Nitro ever, I decided.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Better than the announcers yelling at each other?
That was a great one, too. This just,
Fuck, if you like this show, Vinny, it's going to be a fun 2 years.
This just went into such complete absurdity. And I love absurdity.
Oh, just wait, dude. We should be watching Thunder then.
Maybe we should.
No.
Once Nitro's dead,
No.
it's going to be Ron Thunder.
So I was giddy about that four-way. I was giddy about the Flair-Piper promo. I was giddy about Schiavone transcribing the Flair-Piper promo. And then out come Brian Knobbs versus Hack in a trash can kendo stick match. I was pumping my fist with joy. Couldn't wait for
Oh,
this.
yeah?
Yes.
This sucked.
It did, but it was
was
wonderful.
horrible.
Oh, get out of here.
This was two clumsy dudes hitting each other in the head with weapons for about 5 minutes, and one of them got pinned.
Oh, God, this was horrible. Like, think about this.
Sorry, go ahead. Getting ahead of myself.
They hired the fucking Sandman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He never wins.
that's true.
He's out here having shitty matches. They bring back Brian fucking Knobbs.
Yes.
Even he is beating Hack.
Yes.
Just have
Never had a singles match on Nitro before, let alone won one.
they have a horrific match. I'm begging for the Road Dogg. At one
Road
point,
Dogg was great at these.
somebody does a move, and Tony says, and I quote, "A knee in the butt talks."
Yes.
Even I've never said that. A knee in the butt talks.
I wrote it down. A knee in the butt talks, and then I realized if you read this and didn't see the show, you would think he was saying that the knee is doing the talking.
No.
He meant the buttocks. He just pronounced it butt talks.
Oh, so he's saying like it's wisdom. A knee in the butt talks.
I suppose it's a lesson
That's not wisdom. He hit him in the butt talks.
with his knee.
Yes. Then Bam Bam threw Hack off the top. Lands face first on a ladder. These fucking guys killed each other.
They absolutely did.
Vinny laughs about this, but this was a life-shortening match.
To be fair, I did write down, I am going to ignore the long-term repercussions of these headshots and just say this was a fun garbage match.
Oh, Christ, this sucked.
Both of them are live today, by the way.
Yes.
Have you seen the Sandman?
Have you seen Brian? Actually, we did.
Did you see them
Brian
then?
Knox.
Yes. We did see him.
Yeah.
Is this where the wrestling show is?
We saw the Nasty Boys.
I'm like, well, we're at the fucking
Orleans.
building, and there's wrestling in there. Yes, this is where the wrestling matches are.
Randy Savage did a backstage promo saying this was the most recent time in his career. Word.
Yes.
It's true.
He hyped up the gorgeous George Charles Robinson match and then brought in Medusa. Her return to the company. Randy says she'll be training George for the match. Medusa says she has always wanted to wrestle him, or had always wanted to wrestle a man. Would be proud to help George make a statement.
You missed the most important things here. Savage is cutting a promo to build up a match at a pay-per-view between Gorgeous George and Charles Robinson. He builds up this match by saying, George is beautiful, but she's never had a match.
Yes.
She's had no matches.
Yeah, his exact words.
Is there a problem with that?
Then Medusa shows up, and she actually says, when I am done training Gorgeous George, she will be able to beat any man in WCW.
Okay, I didn't catch that.
She'll beat Goldberg.
Apparently.
She'll beat Sting.
I guess so.
She'll beat Meng.
Well, Meng
I don't think that
Meng is a
happened.
monster, not a man.
That's true.
So he's off the list. So earlier you mentioned Ric Flair was everyone's dad. When the B-teamers are hanging out in the locker room and in walks Kevin Nash in his plaid button-up and jorts and sandals, looking like dad just finished working the grill. The steaks are ready. He looked like dad coming in for the barbecue. So he was upset they had given a message to Conan. He knew nothing about this. Scott Steiner interrupts. He says he should be getting a title shot instead of Kevin Nash.
He says, DDP's tramp hit me with a chair last week. You know I would have won. So if you don't change the championship match from you to me, you're going to get it.
That's right. He left, and Nash blew him off. Then Stevie Ray steps up and says, Nash, we know what you're doing behind our back. I don't.
I don't either.
Clue?
I don't know what the hell he's talking
I don't think
about.
Stevie does.
And then they said they were going to take out Scott Norton here tonight.
Yes, they said they had taken out Conan earlier. Now they're going to take out Scott Norton later.
I didn't see that.
I think.
That's
Well,
what they said.
Yeah. Okay, well.
Did I miss them taking him out later or even trying?
You have confirmed what I thought they said.
Yes.
Because it made no sense then, and it makes no sense now. Buff Bagwell comes out for a promo.
Oh, we forgot to mention earlier that Berlin has debuted in the crowd.
Oh, that's right. He was in the four-way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tony Schiavone, of all people, recognized him as Alex Wright.
That's true.
So he's watching this match with his former dancing dildo partner against Buff Bagwell.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot about that.
I did not put two and two together.
I did.
So Buff Bagwell versus Disco Inferno. Just the most basic, fun, old-school pro wrestling match.
Yeah, it was fine.
This is like the 1980s opener here on Nitro. Body slams and hip tosses and atomic drops. Shine, heat, comeback finish. Simple. Buff avoids the stunner, which is now called the Last Dance, then hits a running blockbuster for the win. This is good stuff. Scott Steiner came out with some women. And I will add, by the way, much hotter than the Godfather's women.
I
this
was
evening.
thinking
Yes.
that same thing.
You're
It's not
absolutely
even his
right.
gimmick.
No. Well,
Where is Godfather getting these women?
Strip clubs.
No. No.
Bad strip clubs.
No.
The afternoon strip club. Rob says yes.
fiendishly pointing.
I don't know where they're coming from, but come on
The
now.
afternoon crew.
So Scott cuts this awesome promo on Marcus Alexander Bagwell. Says, your ego's so big, it's blurring your vision of reality. You were a guy putting on a G-string and being an exotic dancer before we found you. You didn't belong in the NWO. When he got tired of having a cheerleader and left Buff laying, there's a reason nobody else in the NWO stepped up to help him. Says when Buff was born, his mama wanted a girl, but she got Buff instead. And this made Buff crazy. Real men, he says, don't wax their eyebrows. And they aren't Chippendales dancers. Started calling him Boy Bagwell. Says Boy Bagwell's really hot. He's flaming. He'd enjoy beating the hell out of him later. And the whole time, the crowd's chanting steroids at him. So he just flexes. He just feeds it. This was awesome.
Yeah, he says you need a name that fits your feminine personality. So how about Boy Bagwell?
Yeah, it's Scott Steiner.
It is. Fans chanted steroids throughout all of this and throughout his entire match.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Raven versus Kidman. Very short.
Oh, God.
Raven beat him up. Kidman tried a shooting star press. Raven blocked it with a chair, and then Benoit and Malenko attacked both men for the DQ.
All you know is there were 9 million guys brawling here, and Bobby Heenan threw out the line, "Who's on whose side?"
Well, that's not a good...
Goddamn good question.
That's a great point, actually.
I have no idea who's on whose side. I presume they're just building up a 3-way tag title feud.
Well,
That's
it was very convoluted.
If you look at the way they were dressed, Kidman and Raven should have been on the same team.
Yes, they were both wearing jorts. Raven, or Saturn was in a dress, so he'd be his own team.
Sure.
And then Ray is in pajamas, basically. He's also his own team, and Benoit and Malenko look like wrestlers. Yeah, but it was a very intense brawl, but I can easily see how you could lose track of what was going on. Scott Norton versus Scott Steiner.
Well, I was happy when this came on.
So the announcers are very surprised. And again, it's Lucha Underground, where there's a backstage skit they don't see. They say Conan was supposed to be in this match against Scott Steiner, but they don't know why he's not there, but here's Scott Norton to wrestle Scott Steiner instead, which makes no sense because, again, they're both in the NWO.
Right.
Did not stop them from having the meanest guy match of all time.
Sure.
You know, like 17 years later, Lucha Underground decided we're going to do the same thing. The announcers don't know what's happening unless it happens right in front of them. It sucks. The announcers should know what's going on. Yeah. That's their job.
Yes.
So they can tell us what the fuck's going on.
Right.
I don't want my announcers to be confused. I shouldn't be smarter than the announcers.
No.
And I always am.
So, these two bulls are just clobbering each other for several minutes. Deafening steroid chants, so Scott just keeps on flexing. And then Norton goes for the shoulder breaker. So he's got him basically in like a powerbomb position, and he goes, "Ah!" And when he goes, "Ah!" the ref gets bumped, but the ref bumps like a minute early.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he has to throw his head back into Scott's arm and then fall down. Hey, if you're going to fuck up, at least fuck up so it's funny. So the ref is down, and Steiner hits a low blow, and then gets his feet on the ropes for the pin and wins.
That's his new thing.
Yeah, so where's the NWO beating up, is this he's a Wolfpack guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Steiner's a Wolfpack guy. Norton's a black and white guy.
Yeah, so I'm still upset about why the NWO never beat up Norton like they claimed. Did they forget that they were going to do that?
Maybe they just figured Scott would do their work for them. Scott Steiner would do their work for them.
He pinned him in a wrestling match with a wrestling hold.
He cheated to do it.
He didn't take him out.
No. Kevin Nash came out, threatened to give Flair the beating of his life. He wished well to Hulk Hogan, who was going in for knee surgery, promised to break Page's back, and teased a match against Goldberg if Goldberg wins the title tonight.
We're 1-1. We've got the Thrilla in St. Louis coming up in 2 weeks.
Rolls off the tongue.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he did that on purpose.
How about the Bruises in St. Louis? Is that not better?
You know, if Granny would have gotten that on one of her contest things, you would have yelled at the guy.
Clueless in St. Louis.
The Worry in Missouri.
Kevin, there you go. The Worry in Missouri. I like Clueless in St. Louis because Nash sucks.
Kevin Nash versus Ric Flair.
Although he was okay in this match because he was in there with Ric Flair.
It was exactly what you expect. Flair got his ass kicked, took a bunch of 7-foot backdrops. Finally, Charles Robin pretends to have something in his eye.
Let me tell you how good Ric Flair is. Everybody loved Ric Flair.
Yes.
Nash is immobile. By the time this match was over, everybody was into Nash and they hated Flair.
Correct.
That is an excellent professional wrestler.
That's outstanding. So yes, the Flair's offense was working over Nash's knee and occasionally balls. And as noted, Flair was such a great heel, everyone cheered Nash's comeback.
What I love about Flair is Flair does the same things in like every match.
Yeah.
Right? And every now and then, you'll see him do something he doesn't normally do. Like Ric Flair doesn't take a lot of Hurricane Ranas.
No.
So he took that Hurricane Rana from Rey Mysterio at Club La Vela. He has a flip bump off the ropes and just lays flat as a board dead. Who sells like that? Just Ric Flair. It was funny.
Yeah.
So he rarely takes power bombs.
Yeah.
Well, in this match, he had to take a power bomb. And so Nash lifts him up and power bombs him. And Flair takes a flat back bump which he doesn't normally do, by the way. Usually lands on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Right.
Flat back bump, does a full zombie sit-up, stares off into the ether, and then falls back flat again, and he's dead.
In a snow angel pose.
It was a fucking great bump.
Yes.
I love when Flair does something new, and he always does it so wacky.
He's never subtle.
No. This power bomb he took was so great.
It's not in the man's vocabulary.
No. So Nash hits the power bomb, but Charles Robinson, of course, is the crooked ref. He won't count, so he hits the floor and starts to leave. He is laid out from behind by Gorgeous George. She tears off his referee shirt.
Hold on a minute. Like last week, she shows up with Randy Savage, and I can't even describe what she's wearing, but like she's smoldering.
Yes.
She fucking runs out this week. If this were WWE, she'd have run out in like an evening gown and then tore everything off so she's in her bra and panties and then put on a ref shirt.
Yeah.
She fucking runs out in overalls.
It was the 90s.
Oshkoshes.
She was a fly girl.
Covered head to toe.
Like TLC.
She was like Left Eye.
Puts on this ref shirt. Actually was a hell of a ref. Not going to lie. Got in there, counted
She
the pin.
had one pin to count.
Yeah, it was good. Some people can't referee, Vinny.
She made it to 3. Ooh.
Vinny. How many times did you have the most idiotic referee in your matches?
All of them.
Numerous.
Exactly. So the
Numerous
point
times.
is she was not bad.
Okay.
We had a ref one time. Remember, it was Nick and Matt, and they were brawling outside, and this guy was a worker. And the ref counted all the way to 10, and he disqualified both of them, and that wasn't the finish.
That sounds like an indie show. So Nash stayed down for all of this. He was killed by the powerbomb. Like 3 minutes went by. Nash puts a foot on Flair's chest. George counts 1, 2, 3. Nash pins Flair and wins. Mm-hmm. So Nash and George leave. Out come doctors in white coats with a stretcher. Now, they did not have a backboard or a neck brace or oxygen or any of that.
No.
It was just like a bed on a cart.
Because he was being committed.
Yes.
They had
Not injured.
They had
You
white
picked
coats
up.
on.
They had white coats on. You picked up on it. All the viewers picked up on it. The announcers did not.
No.
Neither did Ric Flair nor Charles Robinson.
They had everything but the butterfly net.
We can only hope. Arn's screaming at them to be careful. They're just manhandling Flair out of the ring and onto the stretcher.
He's asking, "Where's the oxygen?
Well,
Where's the life support?"
You're jumping ahead.
I apologize.
As they're wheeling him out of the building, Piper is there to taunt Ric Flair, who still has shown no signs of life. Mm-hmm. For all we know, he may have passed on. And Piper's there screaming, "Who's fired now?" All the doctors are telling him to go away. They wheel him out, down the aisle, through the hallways, out of the building, to a van.
Yes, a cargo van.
This is like a, I don't know. It's a white cargo. Yeah, this is not a
Family van.
It's not a surface meant to be laid down on.
Sure.
It looks very uncomfortable.
Sure.
And they yank Flair out of this stretcher into the van. Here's where Arn says, "Where's all the life support stuff? Where's the oxygen?"
We'll get it later.
They say he's okay. And they slam the doors of the van, revealing signs reading Central Florida Mental Hospital. And Arn starts banging on the doors, and Flair springs to life. He's slapping on the windows from the inside, and then the van drives him off to the loony bin. This is glorious. This was awesome.
Yeah, till they lost millions of viewers to Raw at this exact moment.
Sure.
They didn't even stay for Goldberg DDP.
And they should have.
They thought this was so stupid.
And
They
they were
skipped
right.
a Goldberg Championship World Title main event to watch Raw.
That happened. Piper, by the way, is screaming at Flair, "You'll be okay. They have basket weaving and plenty of PG videos to watch." Hey, if you don't, like we've said this before, this company died, and we know this. We may as well laugh at their death.
Well, there's going to be a lot of that coming up.
Oh boy. Goldberg versus DDP
This match was awesome.
with Dusty Rhodes at the announce desk.
So it was a very, very good match. I mean, DDP put it together.
The heat was insane.
Yeah.
Yep.
The announcers were often drowned out by the crowd. So Goldberg kept beating him up. He avoided a few diamond cutters, but was basically in control. But he couldn't keep Page down. Hit a couple of spears, still couldn't keep Page down. So Goldberg misses a spear and hits the corner, and Page finally hits the diamond cutter. But Goldberg kicks out. And the ref sort of gets bumped. Page
Sort of gets
of.
bumped. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, It didn't look
Sort of. He got killed.
He was murdered.
Goldberg kicked out. Page rolled over onto the ref.
Okay.
No,
This was before. Brad.
I see.
And he's right, actually.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Oh my God.
Yes.
There were
Goldberg-
2 bumps, and the first one was not good.
No.
Goldberg sets up for the spear later.
Yeah.
And basically, Page pulls the ref in front of him.
He sure
Yes.
did.
And Goldberg spears through the referee,
Yes. He still speared Page.
cutting him in half and killing Diamond Dallas Page.
That's right.
It was awesome.
It was pretty
And
great.
Vince is here telling us the ref barely
We
got
were talking
bumped.
about
I know
different
you
things.
jackass, but I couldn't figure out what you were talking about.
So the ref is now down, convincingly.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So Page has beaten Goldberg with the gimmick, and he starts attacking him with... He's working over his knee with banging into the stairs and putting the stairs on top of the knee and hitting him with a chair. So a second ref comes out, and he's on the apron, but the camera follows Page, and the ref disappears. But Page thinks the ref is behind him.
He's not.
And the idea is Page will lift the chair way over his head.
Is
and the
that
ref
what
will
happened?
grab
Yes.
I actually thought that when he lifted the chair over his head, it got caught on the ring post because I
Nope.
couldn't figure out what happened.
Page swings the chair up and it hesitates and
I
it holds
see.
it. It looked like maybe the post was magnetic and yanking the chair away from him. And finally he looks up and there's no ref, and so he just hits Goldberg.
Yeah.
And he looks around and he makes sure the ref is there. He holds the chair up, and the ref grabs it. And then Page swings and the ref goes flying into the guardrail. So let's see. Then he goes to put Goldberg in the ring post figure 4, but Kevin Nash runs out to make the save. What? I don't know.
Well, he's a babyface, so he wants to make sure that Goldberg is not injured for their match they're going to be at the Snoozer and St. Loser, or whatever we were calling it.
So Page hits Nash with the belt and leaves, and Nash sells briefly, but then pops right back up. And did I mention that before Page laid out Nash, that Goldberg and Nash had what I can only call a tender embrace?
Yeah.
The cradling his head.
Yeah.
You know, there are positives and negatives to scripting a match from start to finish. And the positive is, this was a very good match. Mm-hmm. The negative is, when you script a match with a guy like Goldberg, who's used to very, very short, non-scripted matches, like they got a couple of spots or whatever, but when something goes wrong, boy, does it go wrong. And there were a couple of spots in this match where shit went wrong, and it looked really weird. But overall, one of Goldberg's better WCW matches, so a thumbs up,
Absolutely.
this battle here.
Best Nitro in a long time.
I'd say so. All right, are you ready, Vinny?
I am prepared, sir.
All right, which one were we using? 20? Let's try 20.
That's it.
The finishes on this show were clean submission, clean pin, pin in a hardcore match, clean pin, DQ due to interference, pin after a low blow with the feet on the ropes, clean pin despite a bunch of shenanigans, and no finish in the main event.
Wow, not bad.
That wasn't bad.
Not bad.
Wait till we do that for Raw.
All right, let's talk about Raw Nitro.
I want to hear you rant more.
Oh, I can't rant on demand. I have to have something to
What?
get angry about.
Well, good news.
Good news. The second half of Nitro. You know what this show was?
Nice going, Vince.
This show here, this Nitro, can you give us the date and the et cetera?
It's Nitro 189, April 26th, 1999.
Okay, this show should be included, although it would be copyright infringement. I don't want to get in trouble again. And by the way, you know, I had a lawyer text me yesterday and said, you know, you're doing a tribute show. That's probably just like fair use. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this DVD of this show should be included with Death of WCW.
Sure.
Because this fucking show was literally everything that was great and horrible and funny and terrible, and it was the kind of thing that built the company, and it's the kind of thing that killed the company, all wrapped up in one show.
Yep.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. It had everything. It had angles that sent everybody to the other channel. It had an old school, legitimate world championship match with a clean fucking finish that was great. Mm-hmm. They fucked it all up by the time the show was over.
Yes, that's the amazing part. They created something great and ruined it within, 90 minutes?
90 minutes. They had angles that didn't make any sense whatsoever.
No, I have no idea what's going on or who's on whose side.
They had the Armstrongs.
They did.
Ned Ming.
I thought the Armstrongs were one of the best parts of the
Ric
show.
Flair. Simultaneously the best and worst thing on the show. It's incredible.
Right.
Let's begin. I need to calm down.
Well, the show opened with a memorial graphic for Rick Rude.
That's right. Rick Rude died. 40 years old. He's in the middle of training for another comeback.
Just on TV like 6 months ago.
Yep. It was a rough time. He was forget the stat Dave had, like the 25th wrestler in, I don't know if it was the 90s or since the Monday Night Wars began. There was a high body count.
Yes.
And many more to come.
Well, yeah. So we got a recap of whatever the hell happened with Ric Flair last week. I know and knew that the WWF used the Dracula music for all their video packages, but apparently WCW used it too.
You know what you didn't know? That this show opened up with Ric Flair in the asylum?
Well, what it opened with was the worst actors in the world playing the nurse and doctor.
Now, before we get into what actually happened, last week on Nitro, Ric Flair was committed for 72 hours.
Okay.
Now, I'm not very good at math.
No, you're not.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure that there's more than 72 hours in 7 days.
You're correct.
That would be an average of about 10 hours per day.
You're right.
Yeah. So,
You did say about.
Wow.
what happened if you watched the shows was,
Impressed.
he was in the asylum last week, or he was committed.
He was going there.
He was out of the asylum on Thunder. He was backstage working on Thunder at the show.
Okay.
Then over the weekend, he worked a bunch of house shows. And then on Monday, he's in the asylum again.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the timeline of Ric
Yeah,
Flair
work-
being locked up.
Work will do that to you.
Maybe he was recommitted.
So this doctor and this nurse are just destroying the industry of television with their performances here. The nurse determines the patients will not be watching Nitro tonight here in the mental hospital, Central Florida Mental Hospital, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Apparently they let the folks stay up late into the night on Mondays to watch their wrestling. Flair comes out. He is in his boxers and a bathrobe, or a Ric Flair robe.
The same boxers he was wearing last week, Vince.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yes.
Yeah. So he apparently is under the impression that they are in a hotel that he owns
Yeah, he's crazy.
and was hanging out. So you may think to yourself, "Wow, remember when Ric Flair went to the mental hospital? I remember that. It was terrible." No, you don't remember how terrible this was. This is so much worse than you remember.
This was very bad.
Like, it's not even. It's there's things that are bad, and then they're so bad they're painful, and they're so bad you can laugh at them, and then they're so bad you're afraid you'll get caught watching it,
They're so bad you're actually embarrassed for the people on screen.
and yourself.
Sure.
This is like 4 minutes long, and I was just locked in one full body cringe the entire time. It was painful to watch this, and there's more.
This nurse that they had, this actor that's playing the nurse, the first nurse, not the buff one, she could not even pretend to keep a straight face.
She was cute.
Couldn't even try. Flair's just out of his mind. At least he had pants on, or underwear.
Yeah, he has boxers
Normally it
on.
would just be the robe.
Yeah. Charles Robinson and J.J. Dillon went over some papers. So apparently, this whole time, this whole time, Flair's been president, which feels like it's been about 4 years now. I think it was supposed to be for the 90 days.
Yeah.
The whole time, Charles Robinson was the vice president of the company.
Sure.
Yeah.
And since Flair is out of commission, that means Charles is now in charge.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
That's what he
Charles
said.
is in charge.
was
They repeated that all throughout the night.
Yeah.
Now, what's funny is, so the storyline is Flair was a president. He made Little Nate the vice president. He got committed. Now Little Nate is the president.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Sure.
Took these guys 5 minutes.
That's true.
JJ's like, looks like it's true. What do you mean? Well, you're the vice president. Okay, Flair's the president. Okay, he's incapacitated. All right, well, that means you're in charge. What? That means you're in charge. I'm in charge? You're in charge. You're telling me I'm in charge?
Who's
You're
on
in
first?
charge. Does that mean I can do anything I want? That's what that means. All right.
This is going to be awesome, he says.
3 hours. This show was.
Now, it's important to note that he did clarify that as the acting president of the company now, he outranks Commissioner Roddy Piper.
Yes, that was
Remember
made
that.
clear.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again. It's important. He outranks Commissioner Roddy Piper. So Roddy Piper came out for a promo and said, "I'm in charge now."
Well, hold on, Vinny. Let's be fair. Piper didn't see the backstage deal. To the best of his knowledge, Flair has been committed, and so is the commissioner. He's in charge.
So no one...
Well, no, it just happened.
Not acting president Charles Robinson. What is J.J. Dillon? He's not the president or the commissioner, but he seems to be in charge of both of them.
Well, no, he's just an office guy.
Remember how we said it was like Lucha Underground? You can't see what the backstage is doing?
Okay.
Yeah, they
Well, you know what's funny? Speaking of Lucha Underground, I found myself wishing, why is Dario Cueto not in charge of Nitro? One guy who is in charge and everyone knows it.
Sure.
So Piper comes out, makes fun of Flair, says he's in charge. He reinstates Randy Savage and Gorgeous George.
Which, by the way, if the president or the vice president outranks whatever Roddy is, the commissioner?
Yes.
How can he reinstate a guy that the president fired?
That's a great question.
Well, that's stupid.
It is so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Are you sure it was only the last half of the show you didn't like?
It was definitely the last half.
There was really just the one great part in the middle.
That's actually true now that I look at this.
So-
especially the next match.
So Piper reinstates Savage and George, which immediately negates the point of the Gorgeous George Charles Robinson match at the upcoming pay-per-view.
That's
Correct.
true.
He books Savage versus Scott Steiner for the U.S. title tonight in an apparent attempt to get the craziest people in the world in the same wrestling ring. He starts talking about DDP when Paige comes out. The world heavyweight champion, the star of stars, the face of the company, comes out on national TV in a T-shirt with a Three Stooges T-shirt with a joke about nose picking. Piper challenges him to defend the belt against Sting tonight. Paige says he would love to, but no, and starts to leave. And then Piper books the match anyway and says Paige has 45 minutes to prepare.
All right, so I don't want to jump ahead or anything like that, but Randy Savage had been fired, and it was going to be Charles Robinson versus Gorgeous George, where if she won, he was reinstated.
Savage, yes.
Okay. So now Savage has been reinstated. Okay. So jumping forward to the end of the show, Randy Savage is now a heel.
I guess.
And I'm pretty sure that Charles Robinson is a heel.
Sure.
So we've got...
I have no idea.
I
am not going to waste my time thinking
baffled
Well,
right
see,
now.
Gorgeous George is hot, therefore she's babyface.
That actually makes some sense.
So she's the one babyface in all of this?
Absolutely.
I could not figure out what was going on. And really, I didn't even thought about that till I was reviewing it right here because I realized, looking back, that Savage turns heel at the end of the show. Now I'm even more baffled.
Yes, none of this makes a goddamn lick of sense. Brian Adams versus Conan.
It was horrible.
I mean, it was.
It went on forever.
Yeah, Conan, as always, gets blown up.
They just, like, Conan would make a comeback, but then, like, they'd get the heat again.
He made a comeback and then just fall down because he was so tired. So he hooks the Tequila Sunrise and the Black and White attacks with the DQ. God forbid Brian Adams submits.
No.
We must protect this man.
This was horrific television, and nobody made the save for Conan after he got beat up.
No.
You notice Conan and Ray both had their No Limit soldier shirts this evening.
Is that right? I noticed they were wearing camouflage football jerseys.
They're coming.
Didn't realize it was No Limit.
Well, they need somebody to watch their back. Who better than the No Limit Soldiers and Master P?
Hooty hoo. Had an old Sting hype video. Just been sitting around. They just put it back on TV. The announcers then said, we were supposed to have a tag team match right now, but the Four Horsemen attacked both Saturn and Billy Kidman and sent them to the hospital. And so we're all just moving on with our lives.
I thought... So, Bobby Heenan was sick, and I think Kidman was sick. I don't know where Saturn was. But, like, later in the show, Nash did a promo and said, I've got my gear in the car. And so I initially thought, well, maybe, like, Kidman and Saturn forgot their gear, and that's why they were written off this show, but I don't think it was.
That doesn't make any sense.
I thought I missed an angle where the Horsemen beat everybody up, but apparently not. They just weren't there.
They just didn't do it on camera.
So we got a 2-on-1 match with the Armstrongs against Raven.
Raven versus Steve and Scott Armstrong. First of all,
First of all,
well, that's a lot.
First of all, it's Scott and Steve Armstrong versus Raven.
You're
like,
right.
There's nothing before that.
Well, so the Armstrongs have been geeks in this show from day one, but they come out here for a handicap match, not against a huge person like the Giant or Scott Norton.
No.
It's a handicap match against a guy who was so small, Vince McMahon made him an announcer for years, or a manager for years.
They're taking on Scotty Flamingo.
Yes.
And who are the heels here?
Oh, the Armstrongs, clearly.
Right.
Now,
Yes, I don't
Yes. But Raven's a heel.
no, he's not.
Okay.
know. I think him and Saturn
Since they have started
faces.
feuding with the Horsemen, they have been baby.
the Horsemen are heels.
Yes.
Okay.
So Raven comes out and explains to the fans what the announcer said. Steiner's not here. I got to fight by myself. Then he fights by himself. Now, as silly and ridiculous as this all was, God, I enjoyed it.
Dude, there was nothing. It was a very, very good match.
The Armstrongs are a great geek tag team.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out why it was a no DQ match, but that's another story.
It's
entirely.
Ravens rules.
I see.
All of Ravens matches.
I got it.
Yeah.
So anyway, he made a comeback. They cut him off, and like eventually there was a DDT, and Steve Armstrong hit Raven with a chair, and Scott pinned him, and the Armstrongs beat Raven.
2 men beat 1.
In a good match.
Yes.
Sure.
The Armstrongs beat Raven, and Mike Tenay cries out, "The Armstrongs pull off the upset."
Yeah,
Two against
2 on
one.
1. They pulled off the upset against Raven. I love this.
Every time Raven made a comeback, it was like he had just made a hot tag. He hits the ring, he's in the middle, and they just take turns feeding him.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was great. This is a fun match.
They're a very, very good team. And he was a fine single babyface
Yes.
here.
Flair is on a payphone at the hospital.
A payphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently at this mental hospital, they will allow cameras to stay after hours to film the visitors doing whatever they want.
And not to mention, they were watching Nitro.
Well, at times. There was times they were watching Nitro on TV, and there was times when the feed on TV was the exact same feed we were watching them. So it was like they were watching themselves wrestle around the floor. The patients, yes. So Flair can also make a payphone call whenever he wants at this mental hospital.
Where does he keep his dime?
He calls Charles Robinson. We can hear both voices. He orders Robinson to have Roddy Piper thrown in jail. Jail!
Yeah, it was him jailed.
So that one really muscular woman...
Asia.
Yes, that was her name.
Because she's bigger than China.
Right. And I think she ends up with Steiner
Yeah.
at some point.
That's
but
not Mud Asia, though.
No,
No,
Medeia's is
that's
different.
different, yeah.
This is just ASYA
Mud Asia's
Asia.
the brunette.
Yes, Craig. She's the brunette.
You are so creepy.
I like brunettes.
Okay. So, me and Gene interviews...
Doesn't mean you can't also like blondes or redheads.
Meh.
And get out of here. You're one of those people. Oh, Sonny just looks so terrible today. Oh.
Well, today she does.
Get out of here.
Me and Gene interviews Charles Robinson. Piper comes back out. Robinson starts demanding security. Piper runs him down, says, "You're only in charge of Flair's bedpan." And Robinson says, "I have a message from Flair," and slaps him.
You know, Piper has a lot of stupid lines, but when Charles Robinson slapped him and Piper very calmly to the mic says, "That's going to cost you your life," I howled.
Is that... And to say he no-sold this slap is not doing it justice.
Yes.
Robinson slapped him pretty hard, and Piper was a statue.
Yeah.
He didn't flinch. He didn't lean into it. He didn't react in any way. And then he calmly said, "I'm going to end your life," or whatever.
That's going to cost you your life.
Yeah. Security hits the ring. They all tackle
I feel like
Piper.
I've heard him say that before, but I don't remember when.
I do.
I know. Get out of here.
Charles starts screaming, "Charles is in charge. That's Mr. Robinson to you." He said Piper's fired, but he will still face Flair at Slamboree.
For a referee playing Ric Flair, Charles in charge did a pretty good job, I gotta say.
It was fun.
Yeah, he was very good.
Sting versus Dallas Page for the world title.
Holy smokes. First off, did you see DDP, how shredded this guy was?
Yeah.
And huge.
He had
This
to have been
the best shape of his life. His traps were
coincidentally
enormous.
right when he got his first run as the world champion.
Well, motivation. I'm sure he did extra cardio.
He was just shredded. He had abs. He had a vein in his abs. I couldn't even believe my eyes.
So Sting is out there in the... It's Crow Sting. We've all seen it. And those wacky white spats.
Yeah, he had these wacky shoes on.
I was wondering if he just had his ankles taped heavily.
No.
That would make some sense, but it was strange looking. So yes, they had a very, very good match. What I loved about it is that besides being good, the whole thing was built around ball shots. Page got the heat with a nut shot as Sting was punching him in the corner. Sting is making a brief comeback, and he knocks Page down, but then Sting collapses, but he headbutts Page in the nuts. Page comes back, he yanks Sting's nuts into the post. This goes on and on and on. And finally, Page has the advantage. They've both been trying their finisher several times and unable to hit.
Dude, they had all sorts of things. They had a reversal, a bunch of reversals into a tombstone.
Yes.
They screwed one of them up.
Yeah.
Sting's scary as all hell pile driver where he drops to his knees.
Yep. With a guy facing away from him.
Yeah, he did to Boss Man on like one of the first Nitros.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
Apparently that's just how Sting hits pile drivers, which is why he doesn't do them very often.
Yeah.
I got the tombstone. Page to DDT. Another low blow Page hits. And he tries the cutter out of the corner, but Sting grabs the ropes to block and then just hooks Page's head and hits the reverse DDT and wins the title.
I don't think when Daniel Bryan won the title at that one WrestleMania, if the crowd reacted like they reacted to Sting when he hit that death drop here.
It was pretty amazing.
Every single fan not only got to their feet, but they all put their arms up in the air at the same time. This giant sea of completely overjoyed people. They went absolutely haywire. So it's days like this where you go, how did it take so long for Sting to get in the Hall of Fame? Mm-hmm. How?
Well,
I realize he lost it by the end of the show and everything like that, but man, this guy was over. This guy was so popular. Kind of like a Luger, actually, except way more popular. He won that title. They just absolutely lost their shit.
But between the two of them, it's amazing what WCW had and how they floundered it.
Yeah, and I mean,
Luger's case for a decade.
So the best match on Impact in I don't even know how long.
Or Nitro.
Or Nitro. Or Impact.
It was a very, very good championship match.
It was awesome.
And the crowd was very surprised and pleased to see the title change hands.
Because I said it before, it doesn't matter what stupid shit they do. This was a group of fans that bought tickets and they wanted to see good professional wrestling.
Yeah.
That's all they wanted. This company could have been alive today if they just would have given those fans fucking wrestling matches. Instead, there's a crazy guy in whatever they called it, the mental hospital. There's a bunch of fucking storylines that don't make any sense. There's just bullshit left and right. All they wanted was wrestling.
Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Psychosis.
Well, they didn't want all the wrestling.
These guys were in a death spot.
Yeah.
Crowd did not care about this after watching Sting win the world title again.
Psychosis won the title last week, by the way.
I did not realize he was champion until he got pinned at the end here.
You didn't remember last week when he won the belt?
Oh, that leg, yes.
Yeah, he won with that leg drop.
The match I liked, no one else did.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and you're the one that forgot it.
Yes.
Yeah, that marathon match that went 2.5 days.
This was better than that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not much.
Get out of here, Vinny. This was a better wrestling match than that one.
Just because it was shorter.
So they're doing stuff. The Horsemen come out. Ray dives onto them. And then Ray gets thrown in. He turns a powerbomb into a DDT and he wins. And I wrote, well, this was a nothing match. And the next thing I know, Ray's celebrating with a belt.
Yeah, he's a new champion.
Okay.
Psychosis hits this thing. It looks like a top rope Falcon Arrow.
It was,
awesome.
but he did it different.
It was like a front suplex, but he twisted the guy halfway so it landed on his back.
Yeah, usually when guys do it, they lift the guy up and over and then turn around.
Right.
He lifted him and then turned him around and dropped.
So it was awesome looking.
It was cool. Psychosis does cool shit.
So then Benoit and Malenko hit the ring, and are they trying to kill Ray? They did the same move that we thought was a botch 2 weeks ago. They did it again.
They get together. They put their hands out. Ray jumps on them. It's like a cheerleading move.
Yeah, but then they get out of the way and he crashes.
They launch him high in the air. He jumps as high as he can, and he just falls to earth.
He just falls on his legs.
Gravity
and knees.
takes over. Yes,
dude, stop trying to hurt this little guy.
Kevin Nash came out for a promo. The announcers and Nash himself say that he had past tense a title match against Paige at Slamboree, but now he doesn't have it because Paige isn't champion anymore. So Nash's response to this.
Well, not only that, but they announced it is now Sting versus Goldberg.
Oh, I missed that. Yes, because Flair called Nate.
Yes,
Flair called Robinson and said, "I want Sting versus Goldberg at Slamboree."
That's right. Put this match together.
Yes. So Nash's solution is to challenge Goldberg, Paige, and Sting to a four-way tonight, and then he left.
And don't forget, I got my gear in the car. Mm-hmm. What inside reference was that all of us needed to hear?
Don't know.
Because he's so cool.
Maybe he was just saying, I know I'm in jeans now, but I did bring my gear.
No shit, you brought your gear to a wrestling show, you fucking idiot.
I'm sure sometimes he didn't.
Well, come on.
That's a way to get out of wrestling.
Exactly. Flair calls Robinson again. So this is the part where, as Flair's on the phone, the other guys are trying to do like referee's position and amateur stuff on the floor.
Yeah, they're doing amateur wrestling with Asia.
And if you watch the TV behind them, you can see it's the feed of the camera that you are looking through.
Well, hey, they were live.
Yeah.
Which is odd. You couldn't pre-tape all of this?
I don't know. So
I guess things could go wrong.
You can set up a monitor and pre-tape it.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, they're doing stuff with Asia. Where the hell are we? Flair wants Robinson to book the four-way. He thinks Nash had a great idea. And then Flair is about to wrestle Asia. He's on his hands and knees. She comes up and wraps one arm around his waist and grabs the other. And then the first nurse walks up, and she just stands there, and everyone looks at each other. You know how for 25 years now we've been watching awkward pauses on Raw?
Yeah.
None of them as awkward as this.
Well, it was an awkward scene.
Ugh.
With an awkward pause in the middle of this awkward scene.
Hey, speaking of awkward, Eric Watts is on TV.
Yeah, for a nothing match with Bam Bam Bigelow.
Eric Watts pioneered the Hardys look in this match.
Maybe? Yeah, I guess they have not been on Raw yet. But yeah, he comes out in skateboard pants and a t-shirt. Sadly, he was not a skateboarder, because I'm pretty sure any random Venice skateboarder could have had a better match than this.
Yes.
He tried to wrestle like a man 100 pounds smaller, failed miserably. Bam Bam pinned him with greetings from Asbury Park.
So he was ahead of his time.
I guess so, yes.
Wow. Never would have thought that about
Let's talk
Eric
about
Watts.
this Frankensteiner that he tried.
So he tried a Frankensteiner, and it ends up with him on his hands and knees, and Bam Bam still on his feet, and so Eric backdropped him.
Yeah.
As best I could tell.
It was horrid.
Tony says, it only went about 3 minutes or so. And I went back and timed it 71 seconds.
I was going to say, there was no way that was 3 minutes. It didn't even feel like 3 minutes. And
It
usually an
felt
Eric
like-
Watts match would feel like it was 15
It
minutes.
felt like a terrible 1 minute, which is what it was.
Yeah.
Gene brings Sting out for a promo. Sting accepts the challenge for the four-way to end all the whining in the back.
Man, it was a stunning promo by the new world champion. I'll see you in the ring tonight. Okay.
Meng versus Booker T.
This match was fun. The show had not fallen off yet.
It was two big mofos throwing each other around and clobbering each other.
It was also
Wonderful.
This was also Ming's best hair.
Best
Yeah,
hair,
the
best
hair.
pants.
Yeah, the pants on. He had a good tan.
Yeah.
He's looking good
Sure.
for Ming.
Did we note where Shivani made fun of Tenay for spending 20 hours a day on the internet?
Really?
Yes. I can only imagine what he's up to now then. So, ref gets bumped. Meng hooks the Tongan death grip. Stevie Ray knocks out Meng with a slapjack. Booker falls on top, and the ref counts 3. Cam, I'm fine with all this. Why did Rick Steiner come out?
That's a good question.
And why did he attack Stevie Ray and yell at Booker T?
I don't know.
Why does Rick care about any of these people?
Apparently, we missed something.
I think there was something somewhere involving some people.
Oh, I see.
Thanks
You know
for
what I
clearing
mean?
that up, Brian.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I mean, I cleared it up better than Nate did.
Not really.
I have more questions.
We had a Kevin Nash video package, okay? The idea is you take a wrestler, you go through all your massive video library, you get together all the cool shit he does, and you put it in a video.
There's a problem.
And now put it in. I see where you're going with
What are we
this.
talking about here? Like when he dropped the giant on his head and almost killed the guy?
If nothing else,
Like when he got touched by Hulk Hogan and lost the title?
could have
Like
him-
when he prodded somebody with a cow gimmick and beat him?
You can have him throwing Eric Bischoff through a table for 2
Oh,
minutes.
come
There you
on.
go.
Over and over again?
He's done some. I
Okay,
promise you.
sure.
I promise
All right,
you.
fine.
The first giant power bomb.
When he power bombed Eric through the table, when he lawn darted Rey Mysterio.
Yes, there's one.
Okay, yeah, back in 96.
The point is he's been there for years and they could have found stuff. So what they found instead was a minute of Kevin Nash posing and making funny faces and fixing his hair.
Sounds awesome.
You're a world champion contender.
Well, that's what he's best at.
Fixing his hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Had a recap of Hulk Hogan's surgery with Dr. Andrews. So Dr. Andrews, as we've noted, the best in his field,
World renowned.
like nobody else in his planet right now. No one
Absolutely.
else does their job better or gets more credit for doing their job better than Dr. Andrews. And it's been decades now. But still, when he puts up these x-rays and says, Hulk got hurt wrestling.
He got her wrestling.
I raise my hand. If you talk like that, maybe don't cut up my knee.
His knee shows the damage of an athlete.
Yeah.
Are you saying
Okay.
Southerners can't perform surgery?
I would just be hesitant.
Oh, get out of here, Vinny. He's the best in the world.
He is the best in the world. I said that. That's
So
a
what
fact.
the hell are you talking about then?
I said I'm revealing my own prejudices.
Okay.
Okay. So
Thank
it's my
you.
weakness.
I'm going to write that down.
So
Disgusted.
Hogan does not want to get the surgery. He wants to take care of Paige first. I can take care of Paige on a bad leg, brother.
He didn't have a bad leg. He's walking around. He ain't limping. I'm like, did you forget that your leg hurts? Do you think
Yes.
you were getting neck surgery
Yes,
or
he
like
did.
eye surgery?
To be fair, he was going in to get it scoped, so it probably wasn't that bad.
Well, then he should have wrestled.
Not after it's scoped. You
Well,
need a
as-
few weeks to heal.
No, before it got scoped. That's what he even argued.
Okay, that's fair.
As Bischoff explained, let Nash take care of business. You take care of yourself. You are too important to this industry to work injured. So they scoped his knee. They took out some chunks of bone or whatever.
Cartilage.
And Dr. Andrews is talking about it, and then some other guy is talking about the pain Hogan felt in his knee. Overtraining is bad for you, and then they cut him off mid-sentence to go to commercial.
Not only that, they're like, Hogan should kind of take it easy after the surgery, but he's not gonna, and it's gonna be bad. That's how we're going off the air here. Thanks, Doc.
And more of Flair and Robinson on the phone. How many dimes did Flair have?
I would bet a few.
Flair wants Rick Steiner booked for Slamboree.
Of course, he
I
probably
guess Booker T.
Probably had to borrow one at the end of the thing.
Then Flair leads the mental patients in dance lessons, and then Scott Hall is there,
Yeah.
and they make fun of him.
Yep. And it was never
God
brought up
almighty, what the hell is happening?
ever again. They thought it would be funny if Scott Hall made a cameo in the asylum.
It was kind of funny.
And that was it. That was it. I mean, he has been gone. Who the hell knows?
Okay, we are now at the point where the show is no good.
Right.
Okay, this was where the show fell off a cliff.
Yes.
Hack, Mikey Whipwreck, Brian Knobbs, and Horace in like the definition of a bullshit hardcore match.
Can I say this right now? And excuse my language. Brian Knobbs is a dick. He was hitting people so hard.
I would rather be in a UFC fight than be in a hardcore wrestling match with Brian Knobbs. Because at least in the UFC fight, if you get hurt, the fight will stop. He's just hitting guys in the head as hard as he can over and over and over again.
The best one, and by the best one I mean the worst one, and we should actually ask Mikey about this because I could be wrong, but it looked to me like this fucking guy put the ladder on his head like Terry Funk.
Yes.
And so he starts to swing one way, and so Mikey Whipwreck is expecting the ladder to hit one side of his head. But then Knobbs just randomly spins the other way and fucking hits him on the other side of the head with the ladder when he wasn't expecting it.
Yep. That's how I saw it. Or there's a spot, it starts, the focus is on Hack, so all the guys are just hitting him with sticks as hard as they possibly can. Just whacking him, whacking him, and whacking him. And then Knobbs turns to Mikey and whacks him in the side of the face, and Mikey goes down. I guarantee you Mikey didn't see that one coming. That caught him totally off guard. Fortunately, his eyeball stayed in place. So this went on. This went through a commercial. Imagine getting to the back and find out that of the 18 times you were hit in the head, 10 of them were not on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice, too, when they were starting up the match, there was a big box, and Tony said, and I quote, "There's a big box of gimmicks at ringside."
Gimmicks. Yes.
Yeah. I enjoyed where Horace is on a table, and Hack is going to put him through the table with a pescado. And here we are 19 years later, and I still have no idea if Hack got him or not.
There were a few of those.
Yeah, he went through the table, it broke, both guys sold it, but I'm not sure if the guy moved or not.
Mikey did a dive onto Sandman, I think, and I am not sure if Sandman caught him or blocked it or dodged. I don't know what happened.
But they did both fall down.
They both fell down.
There's a lot of two people falling down in this match.
And in all this mayhem and silliness, there's just a random large surge container in the ring because you got to get that product. Random. You got to get that product placement.
Exactly.
I am like 90% sure. There was you brought the surge container. In the rare moments when Brian Knobbs was selling in this match, Hack takes the surge container and he sets it down on its wheels in front of Knobbs. And I guarantee you, he was thinking, I'll go to Knobbs, he'll punch me, I'll fall head first into this, my legs will be kicking it.
Absolutely.
Knobbs punches him right in the head and just takes that surge can and throws it out of the ring. God forbid anything funny or creative happen. I have to hit more people in the head with shit. So eventually, there's like a fire extinguisher. Okay.
Who gives a shit?
Knobbs
comes off the top with a trash can, drops the ladder on Mikey, and pins him.
Yeah.
Don't ever watch this match.
The winner of this, by the way, gets a match against Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, good.
Who is the default, uncrowned, I guess, hardcore champion. Scott Steiner versus Randy Savage. Steiner says he buries Piper for wearing skirts, promises to beat Savage and show George who's the real Macho Man. So Randy Savage comes out.
So is Scott Steiner just going into business for himself in these promos, or what's going on?
Yes.
Because he says, if I beat you tonight, if you beat me, you get my belt.
Yeah.
If I beat you, I want to take your freak and show her what it's like to be with a real Macho Man.
I don't think it's so much a stipulation as a boast.
No, he made it a stipulation.
But they did this last week on Raw with Deborah.
Yeah, but he said, you beat me, you get the belt. I beat you, I get your freak.
Yes.
And there was nothing like that in storyline, so I think he just made it up.
Yeah.
I think he wanted a night with George.
I also like the fact that Randy Savage comes out with two gorgeous women and does his whole entrance in the dark.
Randy Savage comes out. He is, for his entrance, he is accompanied by Gorgeous George and her enormous fake boobs. And the debuting Miss Madness.
Molly Holly. Mm-hmm. She was the one training. She was the one actually training Gorgeous George. Mm-hmm. Medusa was fake training her.
Okay.
As we'll see in the video.
So the match begins.
Charles Robinson out in a suit to referee.
Let's start.
Before the match even begins, let's not gloss over Randy Savage here. This dude comes out, he's all blown up. And not only is he all blown up, he's still doing the fake lats. So his arms are like straight out to the side, like he's a bird. He's got his new hair.
Like the kid from
Sure.
Christmas Story, yes.
Coming out with two women. I mean, it's the very definition of a midlife crisis.
Sure.
That's what we were watching
For a guy
right
who
here
basically did a midlife crisis his entire career.
on national television. It was astonishing.
Yeah. So the match begins. Steiner pushes Randy. Randy's arm gently grazes against Robinson. Robinson calls for the DQ. So Steiner's a heel. Robinson's a heel. This would lead you to believe Randy Savage is a baby face. Just keep all that in mind. So Medusa appears out of Christ knows where, kicks Robinson in the head, throws him in the ring. They strip his clothes off. He's wearing the same boxers Flair was last week. I'm just looking at this crew. Randy Savage, Gorgeous George, Medusa, and Molly Holly.
Yeah.
This is the weirdest crew of all time. Has to be.
No.
It's up there.
It's up there, I'll give you that much.
Robinson yells at them and leaves. So they cut to the announcers. And they're running down the show or plugging the main event or whatever. And Tony stops. Tony's running down the card like this. We got a great main event, folks. And he stops and he looks off camera and says, "Oh, you want to be in TV? You can't! Ha!" And he goes back to work. What the hell was that?
He's done.
He gives
He's
no
over
fucks.
it.
We had the Gorgeous George training video.
I'm going to analyze this.
Okay.
And there's not much to
Oh,
analyze.
there is. There's a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I got out of this was this Gorgeous George, to me, maybe I'm in the minority. I thought she was way, way better looking than Sable was.
Okay.
And, like, if WWE would have got a hold of her, she would have been like a mega star.
Okay.
But she's stuck here in WCW and ended up doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because they were fucking clueless.
She ended up dating one of the Misfits, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
The band Misfits?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was really hot, but she was also really cute.
You're right.
Yeah.
So what I got out of this video,
But she couldn't work to save her life.
well, yeah, she's not actually a wrestler. She is a model or dancer, whatever you want to call her. But it was
Let me tell you a story, everybody.
Don't sugarcoat it, Vince.
This was in about 2002 or so.
this is Brian's favorite story.
I love this story.
Yeah.
So, go down to Portland Wrestling, and they introduced me to my valet. I was given, by the way, I did not choose his name, beautiful Brian Alvarez.
I love the valet's name. It's the
And they
best.
gave me the valet Miss Rent to Own.
That's what she was called.
Because they had a sponsor, Rent to Own Auto.
Yeah.
And so they got this. She was very beautiful.
Did anyone ever put together, by the way, that Rent to Own's a horrible name for a valet?
Well, anyway, I'm sure that was the point. But it was Miss Rent to Own, okay? So, naive young man. We're in the locker room figuring out what we're doing for the match, and I'm just saying hi or whatever, and what do you do?
This is, well, hang on.
And she goes, I'm a dancer.
Okay.
So my immediate thought was,
Uh-huh.
Portland Trailblazers.
Sure.
Beautiful girl, dancer.
Right.
So anyway, just go through the whole show, everything like that, and afterwards we went down together, and she goes, "You guys want to go eat? I don't know if she said she would pay or whatever, but she said, let's go eat. So it was me and Vinny and Miss Rentone. And we go to eat. We went to like a pizza place. I don't even remember where we went, but we went somewhere.
You didn't go to the Acropolis?
And she goes, don't worry, I'll pay. And she pulls out a wad of cash like this thick.
Once?
Once.
And Vinny, like, It's just the way, zero tact,
Yeah.
Yeah.
matter of fact,
Yes.
just looks
That's
right up and goes, "You're a stripper."
Yeah. And she responded, matter of factly, yeah.
I was just
Because it's not a
knocked
big deal.
backwards over my fucking
That's
chair.
because you are naive,
No, it's because I'm a gentleman.
and I think there's no shame in being a stripper.
What if she was a fucking valet and she got a lot of tips?
Then she'd say, no, I'm a
Then she
valet.
would have been very, very embarrassed.
Why would she be mad?
Well, Vinny,
What's wrong with being a stripper? Are you anti-stripper?
Vinny, I think if you went down the street and you went up to like 5 random women
His wife says he is.
and you asked them, "Excuse me, are you a stripper?" Like, there's probably a good chance that you'd be slapped a few times. Maybe not every time, but a few.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
You may be right.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But she and I were on the same wavelength.
You were definitely on the same wavelength.
Yeah. You think it's a funny, outrageous story.
It is hilarious.
I think it's one of, like the only time in my life I was ever observant and connected 2 dots.
Get out of here, you idiot.
And she just says yes.
You know what? Vinny's got a point.
Because for her, it's just a day in the life. I asked her a question about her job and she replied. What the hell were we talking about? Oh, Gorgeous George in this video.
Yeah.
So I was expecting this to be like borderline pornography, the kind of thing that...
No, she was really training.
There's about half of it where she would be like in a leotard stretching or standing with a bright light behind her or whatever. And then she would be working a heavy bag or lifting weights, and Medusa would be there and be doing stuff. By the end of this, there was more training for a combat sport in this video than there was for Ken Shamrock's video when he debuted for WWF.
Yeah.
Because that one was all just weightlifting and flexing.
Hey, her in-ring didn't look good, but she could throw them hands.
That's right.
She was like Braun Strowman.
That's right. Main event, Paige, Nash, Goldberg, and Sting. This began, I was like, I am completely exhausted.
Well, luckily it was quick and it sucked. Everybody.
Luckily.
Everybody was in everybody. You know, I'm gonna explain.
They were in each other's way
I
all
will
the damn
explain
time.
this match to you, okay? Don't imagine that this was a 4-way. Imagine that there are 2 different promotions, and each of them signed a main event,
Yeah.
but they double booked the building,
There's only one.
and
ring.
so both main events have to take place at the same time in the same ring.
Yes.
And so
ECW did this, by the way. Go ahead.
both crews are just going to do their own match,
Yeah.
and the other guys better get the fuck out of the way.
Right.
And they often don't.
That's what happens.
That's what happened right here.
Yeah.
God, it was bad.
So they were in each other's way all the damn time. So Goldberg jackhammers Sting, but Randy Savage breaks up the pin
Yeah.
because
it's no DQ.
it was no DQ. Flair made it no DQ. As we would later, well, as was clear, Savage didn't care about Sting losing. He didn't want Goldberg to win. So he hates Steiner, he hates Flair, but apparently he also hates Goldberg, this Savage fella. And then Savage tosses brass knucks to Paige. So I guess they're friends. Now, don't ask, Savage, by the way, was in the ring, then left, then tossed the knucks. Why he couldn't have just handed them to him before leaving, I don't know. So Paige punches out Nash, hits him with a cutter, and pins him to regain the title. So not only was Sting's title win negated and turned into a 1-hour joke, but Paige leaves the show as champion, but much colder as champion than he was when the show started.
Not only that,
They
but
fucked everybody.
Sting didn't get beaten to lose a title. Fans are just pelting the ring with garbage.
A smoke bomb.
As they should.
They hated it. Like, no reaction to the finish. It's just a horrible ending.
As Paige is leaving through the crowd, he tries to leave the crowd through one corner, they take him to the other corner, and then you can see there actually, someone, I don't know who or why, but there's a smoke bomb on the ground going off. And Paige leaves, and that's the end of the show. Whew.
Oh! I guess it's time.
I
It
suppose
is.
so. If ever you had circus music for these 2 programs, Raw was a different kind of circus.
Well, here we go.
The finishes on this show were DQ due to run-in, pin after chair shot in a no DQ match, clean pin for the world title, pin after shenanigans for the Cruiserweight title, clean pin in 71 seconds, pin after slapjack, pin in a hardcore match, immediate DQ by a crooked ref, pin after interference and brass knucks in a no DQ match.
Man,